Thy mother was a white tiger, as were thy aunts and kin, yet thou wert born a black tiger. In a fit of divine fury, thy father beat thy mother for 3 days and 3 nights, and bound the neighboring black panther to lash him for 2 days and a half. Yet he could never fathom why thy bloodline was so divergent. Consumed by rage, thy parents cast thee aside and went their separate ways, leaving thee in thy frailty to struggle for survival alone within the desolate wilderness. Yet fate was not entirely bereft of mercy. Shortly after thy abandonment, thou didst awaken a cheat, the self-discipline strengthening system. So long as thou didst persist in a singular task for a duration, the system would bestow upon thee rewards of attribute points. Thus the first deed thou performed upon waking each day was to train with frenzied devotion. After 2.5 years of such tempering, thou hast transformed from a weak and helpless cub into the sovereign king of these vast woods. At this moment, as thou ventured forth to hunt, as was thy custom, thou didst discover a white tiger cub ahead, besieged by a pack of wild wolves, her form marred by countless wounds. Yet, faced with the encirclement of wolves, she showed no fear. Baring teeth not yet fully grown, she unleashed a threatening roar against the pack. Alas, her voice lacked the majesty of an adult tiger. Instead of repelling the wolves, her fierce display appeared almost adorable in its helplessness. As the wolf pack pressed closer once more, the cub's heart sank into the depths of despair. Damnable fate am I, Liu Ruyan, reborn only to fall as fodder for these wretched wolves. Not long ago, Liu Ruyan had been reborn into this small white tiger. In her past life, she was a great empress of the human race, revered by millions, only to be betrayed by the human high command during the war against the Eldritch clan, perishing at the hands of her enemies. To seek a sliver of life, she had cast a secret technique to shield her soul, only to awaken within the body of this white tiger cub. To plummet from the heights of a supreme empress to the state of a common beast was a reality she found nearly impossible to accept. Yet misfortune seeks the broken. Because her kin were all Siberian tigers, and she alone was a white tiger, her parents cast her out instantly, leaving her to endure a grueling struggle for survival in these deep mountains. Watching the wolves draw ever closer, Liu Ruyan's heart brimmed with bitter indignation. Can it be that I, a dignified empress, have returned only to be buried in the bellies of wolves? With a piercing howl, a wolf lunged toward her at that moment. Liu Ruyan nearly surrendered her last hope of life. Suddenly, a dark shadow streaked across her vision, moving with blinding speed and an unstoppable momentum. In the next instant, the shadow bared its maws, clamping down upon the wolf's throat with lethal precision. With a resounding crack, the neck of the lunging wolf was instantly crushed. A great black tiger appeared before the pack like a fiend god, radiating an aura so formidable that the wolves dared not approach. The alpha wolf's pupils constricted violently as he instinctively recoiled a step. Over these past 2.5 years, thy robust silhouette had become the living nightmare of every creature within dozens of miles. Yet thou gave them no chance to react. A low roar erupted from thy throat, echoing across the heavens. The wolf pack was instantly seized by terror, scattering in disarray and fleeing for their lives, not daring to offer the slightest resistance. Thou spat out a mouthful of wolf fur, thy gaze brimming with disdain. Before Liu Ruyan could comprehend the turn of events, the wolves had fled. She stood frozen, her heart filled with shock, her round eyes wide with wonder. She gazed upon thee, unable to believe her salvation, as a flicker of gratitude kindled within her soul. What a magnificent king of tigers! Thou looked down at Liu Ruyan, a strange glint flickering in thy eyes. Little one, thy display just now was quite courageous. For years other beasts had not even dared to meet thy gaze, let alone approach thee. This small white tiger showed no fear. Instead, she dared to look thee straight in the eye. Thou looked at Liu Ruyan, thy gaze betraying a rare hint of approval. With a tearing sound, thou ripped off a wolf's leg and placed it before her, before turning to depart. Snapping back to reality at the sight of the offering, Liu Ruyan limped hurriedly after thee. Though her gait was unsteady, her steps were infused with unwavering determination. She could not let thee leave, for she knew well that in this perilous forest, following thee was her only hope for survival. Thou halted thy steps, looking at her with curiosity. Little one, dost thou have more to say? I wish to follow you. Liu Ruyan's voice carried a hint of longing. She was but a cub and injured. Surviving this forest alone was a feat beyond her current strength. Follow me. Where are thy parents? Liu Ruyan lowered her head, assuming a pitiable facade. Because my coat is different, my parents cast me out. I have been starving for 3 days. She continued her ruse of misery, though her heart was filled with shame for such deception. I, Liu Ruyan, am a great empress. I once commanded the clouds and the rain with a single thought. I decided the life and death of millions. Yet now I must feign misery to beg for pity. What a profound disgrace. Seeing thy silence, Liu Ruyan spoke once more. I beg of you, I wish to live. This single sentence struck a chord within the softest part of thy heart. Thou didst reflect upon thy own fate, though thy parents lived and kin prospered, yet thou wert orphaned. Initially thou hadst believed thy plight unparalleled in its sorrow, yet never didst thou imagine another creature, sharing a similar lineage, could mirror thy tragic destiny so perfectly. Verily this was a kinship of lost souls, two celestial tigers fallen to the same sorrowful fate, and a wave of profound sympathy surged within thy heart for the small white cub. Then you shall accompany me. A spark of joy ignited within Liu Ruyan's heart, for it seemed she had successfully garnered the behemoth's compassion. To think she, a majestic empress of unparalleled prestige, was now reduced to relying on the pity of a fellow beast merely to survive. The mere thought brought a flush of profound shame to Liu Ruyan. Fortuitously, this was but a beast, a mere tiger, else she might truly have found herself unable to utter such humbling pleas. Having received thy tacit approval, Liu Ruyan meticulously followed in thy wake. As Liu Ruyan proceeded, her gaze, filled with an insatiable curiosity, continually swept over thy form. How, in the myriad realms, did this creature manage to possess such an immensely robust physique, even before the grand era of spiritual energy revival? Though her rebirth had occurred but a short while ago, Liu Ruyan was certain she still resided upon the Earth star, the very world of her previous existence. Yet the precise span remaining until the resurgence of spiritual energy remained an enigma. Without the pervasive spiritual Kai, almost all of the formidable cultivation methods she had mastered in her past life lay dormant, incapable of being practiced. Until that hallowed time, it seemed her only recourse was to follow this formidable black tiger. As thou strode forth, leading the way, thou didst suddenly perceive the small white cub falling behind. Halting thy majestic advance, thou cast a glance backward, only to behold Liu Ruyan struggling onward, limping with agonizing slowness, her pace pitiably diminished. Approaching Liu Ruyan's side, thou didst lower thy gaze, discovering then the grave wound upon her hind leg, from which blood steadily flowed. The crimson ichor gushed forth without cessation, staining the pristine white fur that adorned her. Little one, thou art commendable, such unwavering spirit. Thy estimation of her fortitude deepened yet further. Hearing thy words, Liu Ruyan's spirit swelled with an involuntary surge of pride. Though presently naught but a diminutive white tiger cub, the indomitable arrogance befitting a sovereign empress still coursed within her essence. Gazing upon Liu Ruyan, thou didst speak, little one, thy pace is too languid thus, ascend. With these words, thou didst lower thy massive form. Liu Ruyan hesitated for a brief moment, then, with a surge of resolve, leaped onto thy back. As Liu Ruyan landed upon thy back, she was then, and only then, able to viscerally perceive the immense, formidable strength of thy physical form. What esoteric regimen, in the myriad days of its existence, had this tiger undertaken for its musculature to attain such formidable, unparalleled power? As an empress, what tempests had she not weathered? What myriad wonders had she not witnessed? Strange and unorthodox cultivation methods, peculiar cultivators, even evolved beasts and grotesque mountain spirits and sea monsters, none of these had ever stirred her composure. Yet a tiger such as thyself, possessing such an astonishingly robust physique, even before the advent of the spiritual energy revival, was truly unprecedented, a marvel utterly unheard of in all her vast experience. This phenomenon ignited within Liu Ruyan a profound and intense curiosity regarding thy true nature. After a mere 2.5 minutes, thou didst guide the small white cub back to thy hallowed domain. Here, a crystalline stream flowed, its depths utterly transparent, its waters murmuring softly as they coursed onward. After thy daily exertions and rigorous training, thou wouldst invariably seek this very stream for ablution. Thou didst gently set down the small white cub, bidding her first cleanse her own wounds, and with these instructions, thou didst turn and depart. This hallowed ground was thy undisputed territory. Wild beasts dared not trespass here, thus no fear existed that any feral creature would approach to harm the small white cub. As she gazed upon thy departing silhouette, Liu Ruyan's eyes widened in profound astonishment. Never had she conceived that this colossal black tiger possessed such meticulous attentiveness, even instructing her to cleanse her own wounds. It seemed this formidable tiger was far more sagacious than her initial estimations had allowed. As she cleansed her wounds, Liu Ruyan found herself involuntarily pondering the enigmatic truths surrounding thy existence once more. To care for the vulnerable, and even possess knowledge of cleansing wounds, what unfathomable origins did this mighty black tiger truly possess? Little did she comprehend that thou, too, wert a soul reborn, and in thy previous incarnation a distinguished prodigy of the medical academies. A brief moment later, thou didst return, thy majestic strides echoing. Upon hearing the approaching footsteps, Liu Ruyan, still reeling from her recent trauma, almost instinctively whirled her head, her gaze piercing towards thy formidable presence. And there she beheld thee, a few verdant plants clutched within thy jaws, approaching her. As bewilderment colored her perception, she witnessed thee meticulously masticate the plants. What is this? Liu Ruyan could not help but inquire, her voice laced with surprise. Thou didst cast a glance upon her, and spokest these are medicinal herbs, capable of healing thy wounds. Though at first a pang of discomfort might arise, endure it, and thou shalt swiftly recover. Upon hearing these profound words, Liu Ruyan's eyes widened instantly, stretched to their utmost limit. Within her twin orbs, her left eye seemed to spell inconceive, while her right completed the marvel with able. Before Liu Ruyan could fully emerge from the depths of her profound shock, thou hadst already applied the masticated plants upon her wounds. Is he applying medicine to me? Liu Ruyan mused, lowering her gaze to her injured hind leg, utterly disbelieving the spectacle unfolding before her very eyes. Yet the lingering, throbbing pain radiating from her wounds told her with absolute clarity that this was reality. But how could a mere tiger possess the knowledge of medicinal principles? You paid no heed to her shocked expression instead. The corners of your mouth could not help but curl into a faint, haughty smirk. Rest well, little one. I shall go hunt for our meal. Liu Ruyan was taken aback. Her gaze fell upon the nearby carcass of the wild wolf, her heart brimming with bewilderment. Is our meal not right here? The mere thought of soon having to gorge on raw flesh and drink fresh blood made a wave of profound discomfort wash over Liu Ruyan. After all, as a former empress, when had she ever been reduced to such a wretched and miserable state? Let alone consuming raw flesh, she would have even scoffed at the finest delicacies beloved by mortal men. No matter, surviving this ordeal is all that matters now. Having fortified her mind, she raised her head, only to see you skillfully butchering the wolf's carcass. You stripped away its pelt and washed the flesh clean. Your movements were as smooth as flowing water and drifting clouds, executed in one seamless breath. Liu Ruyan's eyes instantly widened in sheer disbelief. Endless marvel welled up within her heart. To think this great black tiger was so refined as to skin its prey before a meal. Her curiosity regarding this great black tiger involuntarily deepened by several folds. Catching Liu Ruyan's gaze, you assumed she was starving and eager to eat. Thus you immediately spoke. Wait just a moment longer, little one. It is not quite ready to be eaten. Hearing this, Liu Ruyan tilted her head, her tiny eyes brimming with immense bewilderment. The pelt has been stripped, and the blood has been washed away. If he is not eating it, what is he waiting for? She then watched as you fetched a sharpened wooden stick and a wooden plank from nearby. Placing a handful of dry kindling upon the plank, you unceremoniously planted your rear on the ground, gripped the stick tightly with your two front paws, and began to rapidly rub it back and forth. An ordinary tiger, naturally, could never perform such a feat. However, bolstered by a massive influx of system attribute points, your myriad skills had already been maxed out, allowing you to transcend the limits of a mere mortal beast long ago. Witnessing this scene, Liu Ruyan's eyes bulged as if she had just seen a ghost. Drilling wood to make fire, to think this great black tiger is actually capable of such a thing. Watching you skin and wash the wolf was absurd enough, yet she never expected to witness something even more preposterous. One must know that the spiritual energy of the world had yet to recover, and many wild beasts had not yet awakened their spiritual sentience. Only the most primal of instincts drove them to hunt, feed, and procreate. However, your actions were ample proof that your intellect was by no means low. At the very least, it rivaled the cunning of a grown mortal man. Countless questions surged like a tempest within Liu Ruyan's heart. With a sudden crackle, under your deft manipulation, a fledgling spark of flame flickered to life from within the dry kindling. Liu Ruyan stared at the dancing flames, her heart consumed by absolute shock. Never in her wildest thoughts did she fathom that a tiger could master such profound survival skills. The warm, radiant firelight flickered across her face, bestowing upon her newly reincarnated soul an unprecedented sense of security. Immediately after, you constructed a makeshift spit and began to roast the flesh. Charred marks marred the roasting rack, a clear testament that this was far from its first use. The more Liu Ruyan observed your methodical actions, the more alarmed she became, until her mind bordered on utter numbness. Yet within her heart, she was certain of one thing: this great black tiger was absolutely extraordinary. The longer she watched, the more she felt he possessed the soul of a human. Could it be? At this thought, Liu Ruyan's heart skipped a beat. She desperately yearned to ask, yet dared not utter a single syllable. As the meat roasted, you would occasionally cast a glance at Liu Ruyan by your side. You knew full well that ordinary wild beasts harbored an instinctual terror of fire. Yet, rather than cowering and fleeing as you had expected, Liu Ruyan fearlessly took a step closer. The brilliant firelight danced and reflected within the depths of her pupils. This, however, caught you somewhat by surprise. You possess quite the audacity, little one, but do not draw too close. Should an errant ember fall upon you, that pristine, snow-white fur of yours will be burnt to cinders. Liu Ruyan gave a blank, silent nod, prudently maintaining her distance. The roasting flesh sizzled as golden oils seeped forth, its savory aroma permeating the air. Driven mad by the pangs of ravenous hunger, Liu Ruyan. Saliva dripped freely, her eyes fixated upon the roasting meat on the rack, her heart overflowing with longing. Upon witnessing this, you chuckled and promptly tore off a wolf leg, bestowing it upon Liu Ruyan. Starved, are you? Devour it? Liu Ruyan gazed upon the fragrant wolf leg, her heart brimming with joy. She hastily accepted the offering and commenced to devour it with ravenous hunger. So eager was she that her small mouth bulged with the abundance of food, and though it burned her, she did not cease her tearing. Watching Liu Ruyan devour the wolf leg with such gusto, a strange warmth welled up within your heart. You cultivated frantically alone each day, the silence of the forest often stirring within you a sense of solitude. Yet now, with the companionship of Liu Ruyan, your life seemed painted with a unique hue. You reminisced upon your own past, and then regarded Liu Ruyan. Both of you had been abandoned by your parents, struggling to survive alone in this world. This shared fate ignited within you a special emotion for Liu Ruyan, as if you were partners bound together tightly by the threads of destiny. Little one, from this day forward, follow me and live by my side. Upon hearing your words, Liu Ruyan immediately halted her feasting. Her eyes shone brightly, and without hesitation, she nodded her head. This was precisely what she desired, for she was currently far too weak. To possess a powerful protector was not a bad thing. Perhaps, when the spiritual Kai revived, she would achieve accomplishment in her cultivation, and in turn, protect you. At this moment, beholding the look of trust in Liu Ruyan's eyes, you nodded in comfort. From this day forward, I shall be your father. Liu Ruyan's movements froze, and she lifted her head to gaze upon you, her eyes wide with utter bewilderment. I, a dignified empress, you would have me call you father. What is it? Are you unwilling? Observing the conflict in Liu Ruyan's eyes, a trace of confusion arose within your heart. In the next moment, Liu Ruyan regained her senses, inwardly roaring, willing. What nonsense! This empress is certainly unwilling. To have this empress call you father, you are indulging in the wildest of fantasies. A mere mortal tiger dares to become the father of this empress. Seeing Liu Ruyan's silence, you felt a touch of disappointment in your heart. Since you are unwilling, then so be it. You turned your back, no longer looking at her. You had presumed that this little one would happily accept your proposal after all. Within this forest, your mutual companionship could be considered a peculiar fate. Since the little one was unwilling, you would naturally not force the matter. Watching your retreating figure, a wave of unease suddenly washed over Liu Ruyan. This fellow, could he be angered? If he truly becomes enraged, what if he casts me out? With her current strength, she would not survive in the wilderness without the protection of this great black tiger. Her small paws gently scratched at the ground. To have this empress call you father, at this moment Liu Ruyan's face was twisted into a knot. Her pride and the reality of her predicament continuously warred within her heart. Having been an empress in her past life, Liu Ruyan clearly understood that in this world where the strong preyed upon the weak, one must either grow strong oneself, or attach oneself to a powerful figure, otherwise one would not even possess the right to live. Although she now knew many methods of cultivation, and had ways to rapidly rise in power, the crux of the issue lay here: spiritual Kai had not yet revived. Furthermore, her body was still so frail. Thinking of this, Liu Ruyan once again lifted her head to look at your back. No matter what, it was you who had saved her and also cared for her. The grace of nurture was as vast as the heavens. Finally, Liu Ruyan gritted her teeth and made a difficult decision. Liu Ruyan's voice was as faint as a mosquito's hum, yet the forest at night was silent and still, and a portion of your attention was focused on Liu Ruyan. No matter how soft, her voice was still captured by your ears. Your figure paused, and then, with a surge of joy in your heart, you abruptly turned around to look at Liu Ruyan, your eyes filled with tenderness and elation. From this moment forth, you shall be father's precious daughter. Come, let father embrace you. Liu Ruyan lowered her head, feeling your caress, her heart resembling a stampede of 10,000 alpacas. Such utter humiliation. This Empress actually called a mortal tiger father. This matter must absolutely never be known by a third beast. At this moment, she wished she could find a pit to bury herself in, her small face brimming with helplessness and grievance. Right, you don't have a name yet, do you? Upon hearing this, a sinister premonition suddenly arose within Liu Ruyan's heart. She had just wanted to open her mouth, but suddenly realized something was amiss. If she had a name, and such a human-like name, you would surely suspect her. Perhaps she would immediately become roasted meat on the rack, and so she immediately shut her mouth again. At this moment, you were pondering a name, not noticing the change in Liu Ruyan's expression. From now on, father will call you Little White. Liu Ruyan's eyes widened abruptly. Little White, I, a dignified empress, you give me such a name. And furthermore, I am now a tiger, a mighty and imposing tiger, do you understand? I am not a dog. Her heart overflowed with protest, but she dared not reveal it, and could only glare at you, silently protesting this name. It's Little White, isn't it lovely? You completely failed to notice Liu Ruyan's peculiar expression, gazing upon her with eyes full of anticipation. Within her heart, Liu Ruyan protested vehemently. How is that pleasant to the ear? According to your naming logic, I have white fur, so I am Little White. Since you are covered in black fur, should you not then be called Big Black? Yet when she met your gaze, her small mouth instantly became obedient. She nodded her snowy, white chin repeatedly, saying, "It sounds wonderful, I like it very much." Then it is settled. Henceforth, your pet name shall be Little White. You gazed at Liu Ruyan with satisfaction, your heart swelling with a sense of accomplishment. You had expected your chosen name to be met with disdain, but you did not anticipate her agreeing so readily. It seemed you truly possessed a divine talent for naming. Stepping into the role of a tiger father for the first time, a profound sense of responsibility welled within you. You gently patted Liu Ruyan's small head once more. Be good, Little White. Eat slowly so you do not choke. Father shall continue roasting more for you. Upon hearing the word father, the sense of humiliation in Liu Ruyan's heart nearly surged past its limits. She secretly swore to herself, when the resurgence of spiritual Kai begins, I must depart from this great black tiger's side. This matter must never, ever be allowed to spread. Having been granted a second life, she possessed knowledge of many hidden, fortuitous opportunities. In this life, she could intercept them all and reclaim the glory that rightfully belonged to her. She might even ascend to heights that she had never reached in her previous life. Naturally, Liu Ruyan was not one to forget an act of kindness. Once the spiritual Kai returned, she would surely assist you. At the very least, she would ensure you were not slain by humans or other ferocious beasts during the chaotic era following the resurgence. Having charted her future path, the sense of humiliation within her heart dissipated by half. At that moment, another wild wolf had finished roasting Little White. Come and feast upon this meat. Coming, Liu Ruyan caught the scent of the fragrance and responded joyfully. Instantly breaking free from her earlier gloom, she moved with small, dainty steps, hopping and skipping toward you. Her appearance was so lively and adorable that anyone seeing her would find it difficult to resist pulling her into their embrace to pamper her. Once she had eaten her fill, Liu Ruyan lay upon the grass, clutching her small belly with a satisfied expression. Ever since she was abandoned by the parents of her original body, she had never enjoyed a full meal. Today's feast was truly magnificent. By the time she realized it, her belly had already become round and bloated. Seeing Liu Ruyan's face full of contentment, you felt a deep sense of gratification. The following day, after finishing breakfast, you stood up and cast your gaze toward her Little White. Come and temper your body with father. Liu Ruyan tilted her head. Temper my body. Could it be that father's formidable physique is related to this? Come, learn from father. Then you began to perform push-ups, indifferent to anything else. During these days, you did not merely persist in your daily training, you also performed 2,000 push-ups every single day. Your body was firmly planted on the ground, your massive paws supporting your weight as they sank deep into the soil. Slowly, you bent your forelimbs, lowering your body as your muscles tensed, every fiber of your being exerted force, your movements standard and powerful. Each descent and ascent was imbued with immense strength. Witnessing this scene, Liu Ruyan was momentarily struck, dumbfounded. What manner of training method was this? In her previous life, she had witnessed countless exquisite body tempering techniques, yet she had never seen such a bizarre form of exercise. "Little White, why are you standing there in a daze? Come quickly and train with father." You looked at her bewildered expression and urged her with a smile. Liu Ruyan felt helpless, yet she could only obediently comply. She mimicked your posture, lying on the ground with her small paws braced. Her body was far too small and weak to perform push-ups with your standard form. Her tiny claws kept slipping on the ground, unable to find any leverage. Her body wobbled and she tumbled to the earth, her mouth filled with dirt. Seeing her struggling, you smiled, "Little White, do not be in a rush, take it slowly." Liu Ruyan agreed on the surface, but as she struggled with the push-ups, she grumbled in her heart, "What kind of wretched training method is this?" However, she did not dare defy your command, and could only persist. Watching her mimic your movements, you couldn't help but laugh out loud, subsequently accelerating your pace. Liu Ruyan, meanwhile, was constantly kissing the earth. One black, one white, the sight was peculiar beyond measure. After a while, Liu Ruyan was truly exhausted. She lay prone on the ground, panting heavily, her small tongue darting out to lick her lips. She appeared utterly spent. Seeing her adorable state, you reached out and rubbed her small head. "Little White, if you are weary, rest for a while." Liu Ruyan nodded, lying on the ground, unwilling to move a single inch. She thought to herself, "This training is far too grueling. This Empress shall never do it again." Yet, when she turned her head to look at you, she discovered your speed was increasing. Moreover, every repetition was executed with perfect form. Though strange, it possessed a striking sense of power and aesthetic. Before long, you finished your training, and the mechanical voice of the system echoed in your mind, "Congratulations, host, for completing 2,000 push-ups daily for the 31st day, rewarding 10 attribute points." You were overjoyed. Level up. You had reached level 9, with the upper limit still unknown. In an instant, a mysterious light, invisible to the naked eye, enveloped you. Your frame grew slightly larger, your muscles became more developed, and your aura grew significantly more powerful. Liu Ruyan was instantly stunned. She could hardly believe her eyes. This crude and unrefined training method was actually so effective. This forced her to reevaluate your method of exercise. In the days that followed, whenever you exercised, Liu Ruyan would follow suit. Though she found it arduous, the thought of the future resurgence of spiritual Kai and her own goals gave her the strength to grit her teeth and endure. Time flowed by, and in the blink of an eye, a month passed. Congratulations, host, for completing 3,000 push-ups daily for the 30th day, rewarding 20 attribute points. Your eyes brighten as the accumulation of the past month finally grants you sufficient attribute points to ascend to level 10. Level up. A mysterious, invisible radiance envelops your form. In the next breath, your stature expands once more, your musculature becomes more defined, and your eyes shimmer with a light that seems to harbor infinite power. Beside you, Liu Ruyan halts her movements, gazing at you in profound shock. Father has grown even stronger. Her voice carries a hint of awe. The word "father" now flows from her lips with practiced ease. She had followed this training regimen for a month, reaching a capacity of hundreds of repetitions daily. While it surely tempered her physique, it bore none of the miraculous effects you displayed. Liu Ruyan looked at you, then at herself, her small face wrinkling. "Is it because I have practiced for too short a time? I heard father say he had already been training for 2.5 years. Having concluded your training, you leap with a great splash into the nearby stream. Throughout this month of shared life, Liu Ruyan discovered many of your secrets. She realized this father was certainly no ordinary tiger. Your daily bathing and fastidious cleanliness were behaviors utterly foreign to a mere beast. As she watched you bathe, her heart brimmed with bewilderment. Furthermore, she noted your penchant for fruits and vegetables. You had even planted over a dozen wild fruit trees, arranged neatly by species, a clear sign of deliberate cultivation. Every day, you insisted she consume greens and fruits. She recalled how, upon the first occasion, you claimed they aided digestion and replenished vitamins. At that moment, Liu Ruyan was left utterly confounded. What were vitamins? You explained they were nutrients essential for the body's well-being. Though the concept escaped her, she understood they were beneficial. Yet, for a carnivore to favor fruits and vegetables, how could this be logical? After this period of companionship, you felt less like a tiger to her and more like a human. Perhaps you were the reincarnation of some ancient demonic god. At this thought, dread filled Liu Ruyan's heart. If you truly were such a reincarnation, the consequences of discovering her human soul would be unthinkable. Gripped by such trepidation, she began to hide her secrets with even greater caution. Each day, she played the part of the obedient, precious daughter, or rather, the precious cub. She dared not relax for a moment, fearing you might perceive her true identity. She swore a solemn oath until she had grown powerful, she must never, absolutely never, let father discover she possessed a human soul. That night, as you lay outside the lair to catch the breeze, you drifted into a slumber. Your massive frame was majestic, your black fur shimmering with a mystical luster under the silver moonlight. Liu Ruyan observed you, her eyes filled with doubt, wondering at the source of such formidable strength. Looking upon your vast form, a sliver of warmth rose within her. She knew that before you, she was small and fragile. Yet during this time, you had truly raised her as your own daughter. But she was deceiving you. She wondered how father would treat her if he knew the truth of her human soul. Looking at the remains of the rabbit meat, Liu Ruyan felt a sense of ennui. Her small paws toyed idly with a half-burnt branch as she gazed at the silver moon. When would the recovery of spiritual Kai finally arrive? Without spiritual Kai, she could not cultivate the secret techniques of her past life. Liu Ruyan was growing weary of playing the obedient child, in your presence. Irritation surged within her. She craved the arrival of spiritual Kai and the restoration of her former power. As a peerless empress, how could she be content to remain subservient for long? Spiritual Kai, have you lost your way? Why have you not yet returned? Liu Ruyan's heart was a tempest of pride and indignation. One day I shall make father call me mother. No, I shall make father call me father. Having set this goal, her heart felt considerably lighter. Suddenly, an anomaly appeared upon the silver moon. A faint crimson hue began to bleed from its outer edge. That touch of red was so slight that it was nearly imperceptible to the naked eye. Then the crimson spread like ink dissolving in water. As time passed, the red deepened until the entire silver moon appeared, drenched in fresh blood. Shock filled Liu Ruyan's eyes, and her breath quickened. The silver moon, the moon has turned blood red. A gargantuan crimson moon now hung in the heavens, wreathed in a hazy mist that made it appear even more mysterious and sinister. An eldritch light radiated from its center, bathing the earth and staining the entire forest in shades of dark crimson. This was a sight Liu Ruyan would never forget. She had seen it in her previous life when the red moon hangs aloft. The recovery of spiritual Kai is imminent. Soon, it will be father's turn to call me father. A dull roll of thunder shattered the silence of the night. A violent gale followed, causing the surrounding trees to groan and rustle. In the next breath, a torrential downpour descended, lashing the earth. You jolted awake instantly, your keen senses reacting swiftly to the upheaval in your surroundings. Why has rain descended? You knit your brows, preparing to summon Little White back to the den. You realize that this rain is of a sanguine hue, a rain of blood. What manner of phenomenon is this? Your eyes widen, your heart filled with profound astonishment. Amidst your wonder, threads of searing heat surge from the blood rain into your form, like a warm current flowing through your meridians, causing your frame to tremble involuntarily. This rain can actually temper the physique. What truly is happening here? Even as you marvel, a mechanical resonance echoes within your consciousness, absorbing the spiritual Kai of heaven and earth, gained 1 attribute point. Spiritual Kai, a glimmer of profound mystery flashes within your gaze. In your understanding, the advent of blood rain was bizarre enough, yet you never imagined it would harbor the very essence of spiritual Kai. The system's prompt continues to chime, absorbing the spiritual Kai of heaven and earth, gained 1 attribute point. Absorbing the spiritual Kai of heaven and earth gained 1 attribute point. In a mere span of breaths, your attribute points surged by 10. At this moment, that cold, mechanical chime was like a celestial melody, playing incessantly within the depths of your mind. Recovering from your shock, you are overcome with joy. This blood rain is a supreme treasure. If I can remain bathed in this sanguine deluge, will my strength not ascend at a meteoric pace? Such a fortuitous encounter is truly a rare gift from the heavens. In your fervor, you fail to notice the sheer shock of Liu Ruyan upon hearing the words spiritual Kai. Her small form stiffened for a fleeting moment. At that moment, Liu Ruyan became even more certain that her father's identity was far from ordinary. How could he possibly recognize the nature of spiritual Kai? Little White, come swiftly and bathe in the blood rain. It holds boundless benefits. Suddenly your voice resounded beside her ear. Having rescued this daughter from the jaws of a wolf, you naturally held her in high regard, wishing for her to share in the boons brought by this sanguine rain. You surmised that this rain was not confined to your location alone surely. The entire world was undergoing a monumental transformation. Other beasts in the wilderness would undoubtedly bathe in the blood rain as well this night. The world was destined to undergo an earth-shattering upheaval. Hearing this, Liu Ruyan felt a flash of disdain. Does it even need to be said? This Empress has waited for this blood rain until the very flowers of hope nearly withered. Yet, on the surface, she nodded joyfully and replied, "Father." In truth, the moment the blood rain descended, she had already begun secretly circulating her cultivation method, absorbing the spiritual Kai with all her might. Because this mortal vessel's foundation was too meager, despite a month of training under your guidance, it remained dreadfully weak. As she circulated her technique, her body trembled slightly. Fearing your discovery, she only dared to cultivate in secret when your attention was elsewhere. She murmured inwardly, "I must not let father discover my secret. At least, not yet. When my strength is sufficient, it will not be too late to impart a cultivation method to him." You merely cast a glance at Liu Ruyan, and seeing her bathed in the blood rain, just as you were, you paid her no further heed. Listening to the system's prompts echoing incessantly, you were filled with exhilarating joy. Previously, it took arduous effort to gain 10 attribute points, but now they were as easily gathered as pebbles upon the ground. Still unsatisfied, you opened your maw wide to swallow the blood rain. As it flowed down your throat, it brought a searing, scorching sensation. This searing heat diffused through your body, as if every cell were cheering in exultation. It was far more satisfying than any arduous grind you had endured before. As the blood rain fell, the forest underwent a cataclysmic transformation, with flora burgeoning at a pace visible to the naked eye. From all directions came the incessant roars of beasts, voices brimming with primal, savage wildness. 2.5 hours passed, and your attribute points had reached 2,500, a feat you could not have achieved in a lifetime of manual toil. Your lips curled into an involuntary smile. Ascend, I shall ascend, forward to glory. In the next instant, your body began to transform, yet, as the change commenced, you realized something was amiss. Past ascensions were merely physical alterations, but this time, the transformation surged from within to without. A domineering and peerless aura suddenly erupted from your form, swirling like a ferocious tempest with you at its center. The blood rain was blasted asunder by the impact of this staggering pressure. Even the surrounding air seemed suppressed by your aura, becoming incredibly heavy, as if one could touch the physical manifestation of that pressure with a mere reach of the hand. As the sensation subsided, you prepared to test the newfound strength of your ascended form. At that moment, a flood of information surged into your mind. Unlike the system prompts, this knowledge felt innate, as if it had been born within you and was only now being awakened. Upon receiving the information, your heart leaped with wild joy. You had awakened your bloodline talent. Liu Ruyan, who was in the midst of cultivation, suddenly felt a formidable aura emanating from beside her, and her eyes snapped open in shock. When she perceived the cause, a tempest of shock raged in her heart. Has father actually broken through to the awakening realm? In disbelief, she sensed the aura radiating from you once more. After confirming it repeatedly, she sucked in a cold breath of air. Possessing the experience of an emperor-level expert, she had certainly witnessed peerless geniuses before. However, the resurgence of spiritual Kai had only begun 2 hours ago, yet he had already reached the awakening realm. It was truly terrifying. Her heart was filled with both wonder at your rapid ascent and a faint, lingering worry. It seems my previous suspicion was correct. Father truly is the reincarnation of a peerless sovereign, otherwise such a rapid breakthrough would be impossible. I must conceal my identity even more carefully. I cannot afford to be exposed until I possess absolute power. In her previous life, she had been betrayed by those closest to her, which was how she had fallen into such a pathetic state. Although she had not been with you for long, she could feel your genuine sincerity toward her. Yet the shadows of her past life still loomed over her heart, and they would not be easily dispelled in a short time. Liu Ruyan would never take the initiative to harm you, but she also refused to tread the same path of ruin again. With a thought, you summoned the system interface. Level 11 Talent Tiger basic upgrade to next tier requires 3 zeros. 0 attribute points 600. You then carefully examine the talent Tiger basic. Upon slaying a living creature, you may forcibly enslave its soul form. Observing the description of this ability, a flash of joy crossed your tiger eyes. The vassals of the tiger ability was indeed quite remarkable. The crimson rain continued to fall, each blood, red droplet like a pearl imbued with mysterious power, descending incessantly from the heavens. With a burning gaze, you swallowed the rainwater. The spiritual Kai within surged into your body like a tidal wave, and your attribute points continued to accumulate. As you swallowed the rain, you spoke to Liu Ruyan Ziobai. This crimson rain is a rare boon. You should also absorb as much as possible. Liu Ruyan nodded understood. I will do my best. Liu Ruyan began to accelerate the circulation of her cultivation method from her previous life, frantically devouring the spiritual Kai of heaven and earth. A small Kai vortex formed around her as the surrounding energy was relentlessly drawn into her body. Her heart was gripped by a sense of urgency. The growth of your strength had already far exceeded her wildest imagination. Now that the spiritual Kai had just undergone its revival and was at its peak density, she had to race against time. It was not until dawn that the crimson rain finally ceased. The sky gradually brightened, and the firmament, once dyed blood red, returned to its pristine azure hue. Even the formerly desolate lands were now occupied by lush vegetation. Had the flora not grown several times their original height, it would have seemed as if everything were no different from usual. You opened your attribute panel once more. By now, you had accumulated over 7,000 attribute points. If level 11 is already this formidable, would level 12 not be even mightier? Thus you mused. With a mere thought, you allocated 5,000 attribute points directly into your level, upgrading, evolution in progress. You could not help but let out a low, guttural roar, a sound vibrating with raw, majestic power. Liu Ruyan, who had been immersed in her cultivation, opened her eyes. Seeing you achieve another breakthrough, a look of utter shock surfaced on her face. No way. Another breakthrough? How is this possible? Even if the spiritual Kai were this dense, it shouldn't be possible to reach such a state so quickly, right? Wait, this can't be right. I'm the one using a heaven-defying cheat, yet even with a cheat, I cannot compare to father. At this moment, her heart was filled with profound bewilderment. Meanwhile, you did not notice Liu Ruyan's reaction. You had always treated her as your own daughter, and thus felt no need to hide your progress from her. After the evolution concluded, you immediately focused your gaze on the advanced skills of the attribute panel. Over the past 2.5 years, you had already evolved all these skills to the advanced rank. Now that you had broken through to level 11, these advanced skills could finally be promoted once more. You wondered what form they would take after their ascension. After hesitating for a moment over the selection of skills, you finally decided to spend the remaining 2,000 attribute points on advanced deterrence and advanced bite. In an instant, a massive influx of information surged into your mind. Within your eyes, a sinister, eldritch light flashed, as if a mysterious flame were burning within the depths of your pupils. Pupils of fear elementary fixate your gaze upon the foe to trigger the deepest latent terrors hidden within their heart. Vajra Claws Elementary, the tiger's claws transmute into mystical metal, capable of rending gold and shattering stone, imbued with a devastating tearing effect. Before the upgrade, you could already deter the surrounding wild beasts from lingering nearby. That pressure was an innate kingly aura. Now that they have been upgraded, you wondered just how much might these two skills now possessed. Within your bronze bell, like tiger eyes, a glimmer of intense anticipation flickered. You intended to find an opportunity to test their power. Just then, you turned your gaze towards Ziobai beside you. Truly interesting. A faint purple radiance was actually emanating from Ziobai's body, swirling around her like a dream, as if she were draped in a mysterious silken veil. Little one, are you also about to awaken a bloodline ability? Your heart was filled with satisfaction. It seemed the little one possessed quite the remarkable natural talent. Sensing your gaze, Liu Ruyan's small heart skipped a beat in terror. She hastily withdrew her cultivation, her heart falling into a state of utter turmoil. It's over, it's all over. Father has found me out. A trace of profound worry flashed in her round eyes. Would father suspect something was amiss? Would he kill me to silence me and protect his secrets? If he truly intends to do so, what should I do? I am currently no match for him at all. Must I flee? But where could I possibly flee? The fear in her heart submerged her like a surging tide. At that very moment, your voice rang out, gentle and filled with anticipation, Little White. What bloodline talent have you awakened? Bloodline talent. Liu Ruyan's spirited eyes darted about as she froze for an instant. She had not yet broken through to the awakening realm. So how could she have possibly awakened a bloodline talent? Could it be that father is unaware of this? So, the reason he gazed at me just now was simply to know what bloodline talent I had awakened. It wasn't because he discovered me circulating my cultivation method. Liu Ruyan cautiously lifted her head to meet your gaze, sensing nothing amiss within your eyes. She finally let out a long sigh of relief. Father, the bloodline talent I awakened is lunar essence. Under the radiance of the moon, my efficiency in absorbing the energy of heaven and earth increases tenfold. To conceal the anomalies caused by her cultivation method, Liu Ruyan spun a deceptive tale. Tenfold. A glimmer of pleasant surprise flashed within your tiger-like eyes. Such a talent was indeed formidable. Though Liu Ruyan remained weak for now, with your protection, her ascension was merely a matter of time. Then you must strive even harder. Do not squander such a gift, nor let it become an excuse for sloth. Do you understand? I understand, father. I shall persevere with all my might. Liu Ruyan nodded with feigned obedience, yet her heart harbored a different thought. That once her power surpassed his, she would make him call her father as well, he. Once she reached the awakening realm, she would be able to cultivate the profound martial arts and secret techniques from her previous life. As of now, she had already reached the mid-stage of the mortal realm. For Liu Ruyan, bolstered by the mystical cultivation methods of her past life, the awakening realm was no longer a distant dream. The cultivation method she practiced was known as the Purple Yang breathing technique. In the eras to come, the grades of cultivation methods were divided into mortal, king, emperor, and sovereign ranks. And the Purple Yang breathing technique was a sovereign rank cultivation method. This was her ultimate trump card. With the Purple Yang breathing technique, I will surely surpass father. Liu Ruyan's gaze brimmed with resolve, as if she could already see the day you would be forced to call her father. Simultaneously, this crimson rain had sparked fervent discussions among all of humanity across the globe. Many who were drenched by the blood rain felt their strength swell significantly. Even domestic cats and dogs began to descend into a state of primal frenzy. In an instant, strange occurrences and tragedies unfolded across the world, plunging hearts into panic and the world into chaos. Of these external matters you were naturally unaware. At this moment, your thoughts turned towards surveying the transformations within the forest. Little White, father is going out to find some sustenance. Do not wander off. If you encounter peril, cry out for father at the top of your lungs. You called out toward Liu Ruyan's direction, your tiger-like eyes filled with genuine concern. In truth, you were deeply worried about Liu Ruyan. Though she had grown considerably of late, in this forest fraught with hidden dangers, any unforeseen calamity could strike. Hearing your voice, Liu Ruyan immediately responded with dutiful obedience. I understand, father. With the resurgence of spiritual Kai, Liu Ruyan was filled with absolute confidence in her own strength. With her mid-stage mortal realm cultivation and her experiences as an empress in her past life, she feared nothing so long as she did not encounter a being of the awakening realm. This was the pride and conviction she held as a former empress. As for the awakening realm, she did not believe another entity as terrifying as her father existed in these lands. In her perception, you were already the sovereign ruler of this entire region. Furthermore, even if an awakening realm beast were to appear, it would be impossible for it to slay her in a short span of time. Now that father has departed, I can seize this moment to focus on my cultivation. I must break through to the awakening realm as soon as possible. Glancing toward you once more to ensure you had gone far and were not paying her any heed, she immediately pushed the purple sun breathing technique to its absolute limit. In an instant, spiritual Kai enveloped her small frame, causing her entire body to radiate a majestic violet glow. Feeling the changes within her body, a flicker of joy rose in Liu Ruyan's heart. Although the speed of her initial cultivation could not compare to yours, she possessed an emperor-grade cultivation method. Surpassing you was merely a matter of time. At this rate, reaching the awakening realm would not take long. Just then, a piercing shriek echoed through the air. High above in the distant heavens, a giant eagle transformed and massive soared with wings outstretched. It cast a colossal shadow upon the earth below. The eagle's feathers were a lustrous, brilliant black, shimmering with a magnificent sheen under the sun. Its keen eyes looked down upon the primeval forest, like a high and mighty sovereign patrolling its territory. Suddenly, within the verdant forest, a glimmer of violet light caught the eagle's eye. A hint of greed flashed within the giant eagle's sharp gaze. Though it knew not what the violet light was, it had witnessed many strange phenomena since the world transformation. Its instinctual drive told it that if it could devour this thing, its strength would surely increase exponentially. In the next heartbeat, the eagle's massive body shot downward like a feathered arrow. Its dive was incredibly swift. Appearing like a bolt of golden lightning, its wings sliced through the air with a thunderous roar. Liu Ruyan was immersed in her cultivation, completely unaware that she had been targeted by a mutated giant eagle. Suddenly, she felt a chilling aura descending from above her head, hurriedly ceasing her cultivation. Her tiger-like eyes snapped open as she looked up toward the heavens. There she saw the razor, sharp talons of a giant bird reaching for her, the claws glinting with a cold, lethal light under the sun. Damn it, Liu Ruyan cursed inwardly. A mere late, stage mortal realm beast dares to target this Empress. Her heart burned with fury. Immediately, a faint violet glow flickered across her limbs. She felt nothing but disdain. A mere bird that has barely attained sapience thinks it can capture me. Not so easily. Just as the eagle's talons were about to strike, her form vanished like a phantom, effortlessly evading the attack. With a thunderous boom, 8 bone-chilling claw marks were carved into the spot where she had just stood. Failing its strike, the giant eagle beat its massive wings and ascended, looking down at Liu Ruyan with surprise. Its sharp eyes locked onto Liu Ruyan with a deathly stare. Spreading its wings, it ascended once more before diving again, faster than before. Its momentum was like a collapsing mountain, and it let out a shrill cry, determined to seize the little white tiger. "You truly seek death," Liu Ruyan said, her gaze cold as she stared at the giant eagle. The eagle's strength was not great. She immediately intended to unleash a secret technique to slay it on the spot. But as she was about to act, she suddenly thought of you. If this giant eagle died here, it would be difficult to explain her true power to you. With her current apparent strength, how could she possibly kill such a massive creature? She agonized internally. Must I simply endure the insults of this foul bird? But if I use a secret technique to kill it, Father will surely become suspicious. Seeing the giant eagle's attack drawing ever closer, a sudden flash of inspiration struck Liu Ruyan. She jerked her head upward and let out a tiger's roar toward the heavens. "Father, come quickly and save me." Her voice brimmed with terror and panic. At that moment, a tender and immature tiger's roar drifted from afar. You turned back to look toward your territory, a monstrous fury suddenly erupting within your heart. To dare bully Little White right under my nose, what tremendous audacity. Turning your head fiercely toward Liu Ruyan's location, you saw a giant eagle diving from the skies above the forest straight toward the ground. The arrogant demeanor of the giant eagle instantly set your inner rage ablaze. Exerting explosive power in all 4 limbs, you instantly leapt from the riverbed. The immense force sent a cascade of water high into the air, its spray glinting with a cold light beneath the sun. For daring to bully my daughter, you have already forged your path to death. At this moment, the giant eagle had grown somewhat frenzied. After several consecutive attacks missed their mark, its assault became increasingly fierce, diving down like a bolt of golden lightning. The next second, a mighty tiger's roar that shook the mountains and forests echoed out. Hearing the tiger's roar, the giant eagle was shaken by its sheer imposing aura, causing its originally fierce assault to falter for an instant. It understood in its heart that since it could not swiftly take down Liu Ruyan, continuing the hunt might invite lethal danger. Though its heart burned with unwillingness, even the greatest of treasures required a living breath to claim. Only by surviving would there be hope for the future. It violently flapped its massive wings, preparing to flee. Seeing this, how could Liu Ruyan allow it to escape so easily? "You attacked me for so long, and now you think you can just leave? Impossible. Halt right there. I will definitely have Father beat you to death." Liu Ruyan had always been one to hold a grudge. In the next moment, a dark light flickered within her eyes, and a formidable surge of soul power swept toward the giant eagle. The giant eagle, which was desperately trying to flee, suddenly began to waver in midair before plummeting directly from the sky. Startled, the giant eagle suddenly felt as if steel needles had been driven into its skull, an agonizing and unparalleled pain. But the giant eagle had no time to ponder this carefully. It could sense you sprinting toward it at blistering speeds. If it didn't leave now, it would likely remain here for the rest of its life. It frantically beat its massive wings, desperately trying to take flight once more, but it felt as though it was suppressed by an invisible, formless power. By the time it mustered the strength to attempt another takeoff, a gargantuan black tiger had already materialized before it. Without a word, you leaped forcefully into the air and swatted your massive paw at the giant eagle, roaring mighty heavenly dragon. The giant eagle unleashed a shrill and miserable shriek, a sound akin to the very cry of despair. Alas, when an assassin is engaged in close quarters combat by a warrior, waiting for death is the only outcome, much less when the disparity in their realms was so vast. 2.5 seconds later, the giant eagle lay motionless upon the ground. With no time to care about the fallen, foolish eagle, you hurriedly turned to Liu Ruyan. Are you hurt?
Father, I was so scared.
Liu Ruyan put on an appearance of such delicate frailty that it would break anyone's heart. Deep down, however, her heart swelled with smugness. Dare to provoke this Empress, and this is your end. You stinking, foolish eagle. It's all right now. Father has already beaten this guy to death. You quickly consoled and fawned over Little White. Having comforted Little White, you turned back to the giant eagle and unleashed your innate talent skill, Tiger. You watched as a spirit entity slowly drifted out from the giant eagle's corpse. Peeking from the side, Liu Ruyan abruptly widened her eyes. As a reincarnated soul, her spiritual power was immensely strong, allowing her to clearly see the existence of the spirit entity. A soul entity, she cried out inwardly, profoundly shocked. Should the soul of a mere mortal realm demonic beast not simply dissipate upon death, how could it? At that moment, the giant eagle's soul entity wobbled in a dazed stupor, as if awakening from an endless abyss of chaos. Master, a soul message transmitted directly into your mind. As a bound spirit, it possessed absolute loyalty toward you. Even though its spiritual wisdom was incomplete, and it could only engage in rudimentary communication, its intent of absolute devotion was conveyed with utmost clarity. Upon summoning the soul entity, you also acquired its specific information. Because it was a spirit entity, it could not inflict physical attacks, however. It possessed a unique ability to directly damage the souls of other living beings. Moreover, creatures with low soul power would be completely unable to perceive this spirit entity. Unable to be seen. Upon learning this information, your eyes instantly lit up. In this era of spiritual Kai resurgence, the vast majority of creatures had undergone evolution, and the primal bestial nature of these ferocious beasts had been fully roused. Originally, no other wild beasts dared to approach your territory, but the sudden intrusion of this giant eagle made you realize that your domain was far from completely safe. Incidents like the one that just occurred were bound to happen again in the future. Today, you had arrived just in time, but what if a more formidable creature invaded your territory in the future and harmed Little White? By then, it would be too late. However, the appearance of the giant eagle perfectly resolved this anxiety of yours. The giant eagle possessed the gift of flight, and since ordinary beasts could not perceive it at all, it was the perfect candidate to serve as a free sentinel. With a mere thought, you issued a command, tasking the soul of the giant eagle to patrol this mountain peak. Should any external foe infiltrate, it was to report to you immediately. Thus, Little White could dwell here with far greater security. Meanwhile, Liu Ruyan remained frozen in shock. Only after the soul of the giant eagle departed did she finally regain her composure. This soul, could Father have summoned it, as expected of the reincarnation of an ancient demon god, to wield such profound means while only at the awakening realm. She then feigned ignorance of the soul, masking her expression and casting her gaze downward. After all, ordinary beings are unable to perceive soul forms. She did not wish for you to discover her abnormality. Fear not, Little White. With Father here, no one shall dare to bully you. Seeing Little White with her head bowed, you assumed she had been startled. Your voice was filled with a gentle, protective tenderness. Liu Ruyan nodded obediently. I know Father will surely protect me and strike down all those villains. Though appearing cute and docile on the surface, her heart was filled with disdain. A mere mortal beast. How could this Empress fear such a thing? What I truly fear is... At this thought, Liu Ruyan glanced up at you warily. What I fear is you, Father. Witnessing your ability to enslave souls, Liu Ruyan's terror intensified, her inner self weeping a vast ocean of tears. She dared not imagine what her fate would be if you discovered she was a human soul inhabiting the body of a tiger. Liu Ruyan resolved in her heart to perfectly maintain her persona as a dutiful daughter from this moment on. Once her strength had increased enough to ensure her self-preservation, she would find an opportunity to flee. Father was truly too terrifying. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Having disciplinedly and secretly petted her for 15 consecutive days, the system rewarded you with another 100 attribute points. Meanwhile, Liu Ruyan had also secretly practiced the purple sun-breathing technique for half a month, and had now reached the peak of the late mortal realm. Confidence filled her heart. She knew she could break through to the awakening realm within 3 days. Upon reaching the awakening realm, she would possess the power of self-protection, and then she could finally leave her father's side. As if in response to her desires, Liu Ruyan had a dream that very night. In the dream, she had left her father. The constant dread of being discovered vanished instantly without a trace. She felt like a bird escaping its cage, soaring freely and boundlessly through the heavens. Relying on the memories of her past life, she ruthlessly seized every fortuitous encounter she knew of, her excitement growing with every gain. In a mere 20 years, she returned to the cultivation of a great emperor, her formidable aura seemingly capable of suppressing the myriad heavens. Brandishing a divine weapon, she tracked down the traitors who had sold her out in her previous life, her eyes burning with fury and disdain. She looked down upon them from her exalted, sovereign position. To dare offend this Empress, you have already found the path to your own demise. Her voice resonated through the world, and as her words fell, with a single swing of her sword, all those who had betrayed her in her past life were summarily executed. Suddenly, a mass of black mist appeared on the horizon as if sentient. It transformed into spiraling sword blades and lunged toward her. Facing the onslaught of this anomaly, Liu Ruyan remained unfazed, her proud figure standing tall in the wind as a chill flashed in her eyes. Mere members of the ominous clan, why should this Empress fear you? At that moment, the black mist morphed into a colossal claw that eclipsed the sky, a demonic hand reaching out from the abyss, bearing infinite pressure. The claw's talons were incomparably sharp, glinting coldly under the sun, as if they could easily rend all of existence asunder. Just as she was about to resist, a familiar voice whispered in her ear, "Have you played enough? It is time to return home with father." Father. Liu Ruyan snapped awake instantly, her eyes flying open only to see you crouching before her, staring directly at her. Her heart hammered against her chest, and her pulse quickened as fine beads of sweat emerged on her forehead. "Father, what are you looking at?" Liu Ruyan's voice trembled slightly. "Little White, did you have a nightmare?" you asked with gentle concern. Startled, Liu Ruyan immediately reacted, putting on a pitiful front and nodding her small head like a chick pecking at grain. "Father, I dreamed that many giant monsters wanted to eat me. I was so scared." Tears shimmered in her eyes as she tried her best to act cute and vulnerable, looking for all the world like a little darling who had just been bullied. She was a completely different person from the Empress who had slaughtered all before her in her dream. However, within her heart, she was screaming, oh no, could father have discovered something? I didn't say anything in my sleep, did I? I don't think I have a habit of talking in my sleep. Father shouldn't have heard anything, right? Her heart was filled with unease as she frantically recalled whether she had murmured anything forbidden in her dreams. To her surprise, she saw you grin, extending a massive paw to gently stroke her head. "Be a good girl, Zaobai. Everything is fine. With Daddy here, no matter what it is, I will never let it bully you." "Go back to sleep." Liu Ruyan obediently nodded her head. "I understand, Daddy." Only, after saying this, did she finally heave a sigh of relief. "It seems Daddy hasn't noticed yet. I must be far more cautious in the future. I cannot allow such a thing to happen again. If the day ever comes when my secret is exposed and discovered by Daddy, the consequences will be disastrous." At this moment, you turned and returned to your own tiger den, casting a glance at Liu Ruyan, who had already laid down to resume her slumber. "This emperor, bizarre, it appears Zio, I harbors a profound secret." Having inadvertently discovered your daughter's secret, you had no intention of delving deeper after all. Everyone has their own secrets. Even you yourself were no exception. Who could possibly imagine that within the body of a massive tiger actually resided a human soul? Thus, until Ziob, I took the initiative to confess, you had no intention of asking her directly. You were merely somewhat curious as to why Ziob I would utter such words in her dreams. "Great Emperor, what is that? Could it be that Ziob I is the reincarnation of some mighty demon god?" At this thought, your emotions grew somewhat complicated. If Ziob I truly were the reincarnation of a demon god, once her memories fully awakened, would she still acknowledge me as her father? I am, after all, a human soul. You turned your head to look at Ziobai, only to find her sleeping quite sweetly. A myriad of emotions instantly surged in your heart. "Ziobai, oh Ziobai, Daddy saved your little life and has raised you for so long." Whether you are just a little white tiger or the reincarnation of a demon god, since you call me daddy, you will forever be my daughter." A resolute light suddenly flashed in your eyes. Possessing a golden finger like the system, as long as you persisted in disciplined daily training, let alone a reincarnated demon god. Even if a true demon god descended in person, you would eventually suppress them one day. Over the following days, acting as if nothing had happened, you continued your persistent daily training. Furthermore, you asked nothing about the dream from that night, allowing Liu Ruyan to completely set her mind at ease. Every day, apart from secretly performing her cultivation of the purple sun breathing method, she played the role of an adorable daughter in front of you. One morning, needing to go out hunting for food, you told Liu Ruyan to wait obediently at home. Liu Ruyan flawlessly maintained her guise as a good daughter. "I understand, Daddy. You must be careful. I will be waiting obediently at home for your return." Once you had gone far, certain that you would not return in the short term, Liu Ruyan began to cultivate the purple sun breathing method. Feeling the rich spiritual kai between heaven and earth, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl into a smirk. "Today is an absolute golden opportunity. Daddy has gone out hunting, and I must seize this chance to break through." Through her arduous cultivation over the past few days, she could sense that she had already touched the threshold of the awakening realm. Taking a deep breath, Liu Ruyan decisively chose to charge toward the awakening realm. As the purple sun-breathing method began to circulate, Liu Ruyan's body became like a massive black hole, greedily devouring the ambient spiritual kai of heaven and earth. She prayed silently in her heart, "I must succeed." With her every breath, the surrounding spiritual kai surged toward her like a tidal wave, causing her aura to skyrocket continuously. Her body seemed to be enveloped by a mysterious and profound power. Under the influence of this power, her physical form expanded significantly. In the next second, her eyes turned a brilliant purple, shimmering with an enigmatic light. Suddenly, a crisp cracking sound echoed within her mind. "I succeeded." Liu Ruyan gazed at her body with intense excitement, leaping into the air. "I have finally broken through." Right at this moment, just like when you previously broke through to the awakening realm, a surge of information appeared out of thin air within her mind. Upon receiving this information, the joy on Liu Ruyan's face grew immensely. She had awakened her bloodline ability, the clone technique. It allowed her to manifest a clone with strength identical to her true body, its duration tethered to her cultivation base. This innate ability is quite remarkable. With the clone technique, whether luring enemies or handling other matters in the future, it will be vastly more convenient. Opening her eyes, Liu Ruyan looked around and secretly rejoiced in her heart. Daddy hasn't returned yet. Now that I've broken through to the awakening realm, I can be considered to be at the forefront of this world. When better to slip away than now? Shortly after, she arrived in front of the stone house, her furry tiger claws absent-mindedly scratched the ground. "I truly am somewhat reluctant to leave." This stone house had been built for her by you, brick by brick. Every single stone carried the memories of the time you had spent together. However, she knew she had no other choice. She had to leave. Daddy is the reincarnation of a demon god, while I possess a human soul. If I am discovered, the consequences would be unimaginable. I truly dare not take that gamble. Her heart was filled with inner conflict, her eyes brimming with helplessness. Moreover, she still had a great vengeance left unavenged. Hesitating for a brief moment, Liu Ruyan gritted her teeth and began to execute a secret technique. All the tiger fur on her body stood on end, and a faint purple light gradually surfaced around her form. The violet radiance was faint at first, but as her cultivation method surged, the light intensified until it seemed to swallow her whole. A look of agony crossed her features, and beads of perspiration the size of beans broke out upon her brow. As the secret technique was invoked, a single droplet of essence blood slowly trickled from her lips. This blood droplet shimmered with a vivid crimson hue, gleaming like a radiant gemstone under the sun's brilliance. The condensation of this single drop of essence blood had exacted a heavy price from Liu Ruyan. She felt as though her vitality had been drained, her aura grew feeble, and her recently attained awakening realm strength flickered as if it might regress at any moment. Gazing upon the blood droplet in her grasp, a faint, weary smile touched her eyes. Within this droplet of blood lay the profound inheritance of the purple sun-breathing technique. The purple sun-breathing technique was a treasure from her past life, the very foundation upon which she had dominated the world. She hoped this cultivation method would be of use to you, serving as repayment for the grace of saving and nurturing her. Dragging her exhausted frame into the stone dwelling, she placed the blood droplet upon her small nest. As if relinquishing a heavy emotional burden, a flicker of attachment passed through her tiger eyes, only to be swiftly replaced by unyielding resolve. Without a single backward glance, Liu Ruyan departed, resolutely heading in the opposite direction from where you were hunting. As she sprinted through the forest, images of her time with you flashed through her mind, and shimmering tears seemed to well in her eyes. Farewell, if it is possible, it is best that we never meet again. Meanwhile, you returned to your territory after the hunt, humming a jaunty tune in high spirits, already envisioning Liu Ruyan bounding excitedly by your side.
You shouted toward the stone grotto, "Time to wake up. Breakfast is served. I've hunted something good. Your favorite wild boar."
Your voice echoed, yet the familiar and cheerful response you expected never came. A hint of confusion flickered in your tiger eyes. That little one usually comes running by now. What is happening today? Puzzled, you stepped into the stone grotto, your gaze searching every corner, but Liu Ruyan's silhouette was nowhere to be found.
"Where are you?" Your furry brow furrowed even tighter as a wave of unease surged within your heart. Could something have happened to Little White?
In the next instant, you summoned the great eagle soul patrolling the skies. Have you seen Little White? The great eagle soul transmitted a spiritual message indicating that Little White had already departed. Departed? You froze for a moment. Why would she leave? Doubt filled your mind. Could Little White truly be the reincarnation of a demon god? Has her bloodline memory fully awakened, causing her to look down on her father and flee this place in haste? You paced restlessly before the stone grotto, muttering to yourself, leaving without even a word to her father. I nurtured her in vain. Does she not know how perilous the outside world is? The more you thought, the angrier you became, but beneath that anger lay a growing tide of worry. Taking a deep breath to steady yourself, you looked up and commanded the great eagle soul, search in the direction she fled immediately, be swift. If you discover anything unusual, notify me at once. Without hesitation, the great eagle soul beat its wings and soared toward the path Little White had taken. You did not wait idly, your powerful limbs exerted sudden force, and you transformed into a black blur, pursuing her with haste. With the spirit Kai revival, wild beasts had undergone strange mutations, and the forest was now fraught with danger. For Little White to leave alone was far too perilous. You thought to yourself as you ran, that wretched girl is being far too reckless. When I catch her, I'll thrash her soundly. Elsewhere, a cute little white tiger was sprinting through the primitive forest. Having broken free from you, Liu Ruyan felt a trace of lingering attachment, but it was far outweighed by the exultation of freedom. Ha ha ha, this Empress has finally cast off the shackles of father. I am finally free. No longer would she have to live in constant fear of her secrets being discovered. A radiant light of excitement shimmered within her tiger eyes. She bounded several miles away, the joy of liberation making her forget exactly where she was. Suddenly, a transformation occurred as a great wolf charged out from the nearby thickets. The abrupt change caused Liu Ruyan to halt her steps instantly. Her gaze locked onto the great wolf that had appeared before her. A mere mortal realm beast dares to covet this Empress, you court death. This time, Liu Ruyan gave the wolf no chance to act and struck first. A violet glow flickered upon her small tiger claws. Her form flashed like a bolt of violet lightning. Before the great wolf could even react, a searing agony erupted in its abdomen. With a resounding bang, her tiny body actually sent the great wolf flying with a single claw strike. The wolf crashed heavily against a massive tree, letting out a piteous wail of pain. Seeing the fruits of her strength, Liu Ruyan tilted her small head up in triumph. Now you know fear, do you? Of all the people you could have provoked, you chose to offend this Empress. Count yourself disastrously unlucky. I am leaving. I have no time to waste on you. This Empress is in a hurry to depart. With those words, Liu Ruyan prepared to take her leave. Yet, just as a sense of triumph swelled within her heart, a chorus of howling wolves suddenly erupted from the surroundings. Curses, I had forgotten that wolves hunt in packs. Liu Ruyan furrowed her brows, crying out in bitter dismay within her heart. This is truly troublesome. No sooner had I shaken off my father than I encountered this wretched pack. Only the rustling of nearby tall grass could be heard before over a dozen giant wolves emerged from the depths of the forest. Each of these giant wolves possessed a massive frame, their eyes glinting with a vicious, predatory light. Among this pack of beasts, the alpha wolf was particularly conspicuous. The alpha's physique was an entire size larger than the rest of the giant wolves. Its eyes resembled burning emerald flames, brimming with savage majesty and ferocity. Another wolf pack. Is this Empress naturally destined to clash with wolves? Liu Ruyan furrowed her brows, speaking with utter exasperation. With my strength at the awakening realm, coupled with the myriad secret techniques I mastered in my past life, this wolf pack cannot keep me here. However, having just executed a secret technique to leave behind the legacy of the purple sun-breathing method, her body had grown frail and weakened. A few giant wolves were of no consequence to her, but facing an entire pack, especially with an alpha that appeared to be at the peak of the mortal realm, would not be an easy battle. I must devise a plan to escape this place as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, high above in the heavens, the giant eagle's spirit soared with immense speed. Its ethereal eyes meticulously scoured the earth below for any trace of her. Suddenly its gaze sharpened. It had discovered the silhouette of Liu Ruyan and the vicious wolf pack encircling her. It immediately transmitted a divine message to you. Little White has encountered trouble. The flames of fury seemed to ignite within your tiger eyes. Consequently, your gaze hardened, and your speed surged instantaneously. Your massive form transformed into a bolt of black lightning, tearing rapidly through the terrain toward Liu Ruyan's location. You roared furiously in your heart, damnable wolf pack. How dare you lay a paw on my daughter? If anything happens to Little White, I will slaughter every last one of you. Opening your maw, you unleashed a deafening tiger's roar that violently shook the mountains and forests. In the distance, upon hearing that familiar sound, Liu Ruyan's tense heart suddenly trembled. Father has caught up. What should I do? Liu Ruyan's petite tiger claws scratched restlessly against the earth, carving shallow grooves into the soil. Her tiger eyes were filled with profound anxiety, pacing in circles like an ant upon a hot pan. How did father catch up so quickly? It is all because of you damnable wolves. A gleam of cunning flashed through the Wolf King's emerald eyes as its massive, furry head swayed slightly. Its instincts dictated that devouring this little white tiger would grant it immense power, an absolute temptation it could not possibly resist. A piercing howl erupted from its jagged maw, commanding all the giant wolves to launch a simultaneous, all-encompassing assault upon Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan's heart burned with urgency. I absolutely cannot allow myself to be trapped by these beasts. I must find a way to break through their encirclement. Her tiny frame darted swiftly amidst the besieging wolf pack, moving like a streak of violet lightning. She struck with all her might, a brilliant purple aura ceaselessly flickering upon her tiger claws. Each swipe generated a howling gale, fueled solely by her desperate desire to escape this place. At that moment, the Wolf King seized the opportunity while the other giant wolves attacked Liu Ruyan to launch a vicious sneak attack from behind. Its massive physique moved like a phantom, closing in on Liu Ruyan in complete silence. Its razor sharp claws made not a single sound against the earth. Greatly alarmed, Liu Ruyan exclaimed in her heart, "Why do these filthy wolves always resort to cowardly sneak attacks?" Radiating a blinding purple light, she hastily spun around, pouring all her remaining strength into defending against the Wolf King's impending strike. Just as the razor sharp claws were about to shred her petite body in that hair-raising moment of life and death, a colossal black shadow came crashing forth. The shadow possessed a terrifying speed, striking like a bolt of apocalyptic black lightning. Before the Wolf King could even comprehend what had transpired, a searing, agonizing pain erupted from its neck. You had clamped your bloodthirsty maw wide open, sinking your razor-sharp tiger fangs deeply into the Wolf King's throat, causing a geyser of fresh blood to instantly erupt. Witnessing this seemingly familiar scene, Liu Ruyan's heart was deeply moved. That familiar silhouette and overbearing entrance made her unable to suppress a cry. Your mountainous physique towered over the battlefield, your tiger eyes burning with an inferno of rage that seemed capable of reducing the Wolf King to mere ashes. You locked your jaws relentlessly around the Wolf King's neck, emitting a low, guttural roar from deep within your throat. With a sickening crunch, the Wolf King's neck was ruthlessly snapped. Devoid of even the slightest shred of mercy, you viciously smashed down with your robust tiger claw, flattening the Wolf King against the earth, dead beyond any hope of revival. A method of unparalleled ruthlessness, violently extreme to the absolute apex. Upon witnessing the demise of their alpha, the pack of wolves erupted into a furious frenzy. Yet their rage was but a fleeting spark, for your tiger eyes, ablaze with an arcane luminescence, unleashed the terrifying eye of fear. It was as if they beheld fiends from the nethermost abysses, a dread that clawed from the deepest recesses of their very souls. At that instant, not a single wolf retained the slightest will to battle. Their bodies quaked uncontrollably as they scattered in desperate flight.
Thereupon you swept through their ranks with blinding speed, sparing none, and with your Vajra claws brought their lives to a swift end. You turned, gazing upon Ziobai, and only upon confirming her unharmed state did a breath of relief escape your being. Within your heart you secretly rejoiced, knowing that your timely arrival had averted consequences too dire to contemplate. It was then that remembrance stirred within you. Your cherished daughter had, in your absence, dared to secretly abscond from home. Though the initial blaze of wrath had subsided, a simmering displeasure yet remained within your spirit. Ziobai, where did you intend to go? Your gaze, unwavering and piercing, fixed upon Liu Ruyan, seeming to delve into the very depths of her soul. Liu Ruyan, startled, realized the gravity of the moment, a sudden dread seizing her heart. Oh no, father seems truly wroth. Her small mind raced, pondering frantically. Should I attempt a desperate escape? But could I ever outrun father? I cannot prevail in battle, nor can I flee. What course of action remains to me? Witnessing Liu Ruyan's silence, your vexation grew swift and sharp. You are utterly reckless, to err so grievously, and yet show no remorse. Today, I shall impart upon you a most profound lesson. As you spoke, poised to extend a tiger claw to properly discipline Liu Ruyan, a white blur suddenly lunged towards you, followed by a soft, tearful voice. I thought I would never see you again. Why? What is this situation? Zioabai's sudden deluge of tears left you utterly bewildered. You had not even laid a paw upon her, yet she wept already. Was this, then, the innate talent of the female, where tears could flow forth at will? Father, I merely came out to find you, but I unexpectedly lost my way, and somehow ended up here. Liu Ruyan blinked her large, tear-filled tiger eyes, tears glistening on the brink of spilling, her expression one of utter, profound grievance. And then these wretched wolves tried to bully me. Thankfully, father, you came to protect me, otherwise, I fear I would never have seen you again. Liu Ruyan flung herself into your embrace, her voice laden with extreme pathos, presenting a truly pitiable visage. Since I cannot win in battle, nor can I flee, my only recourse is to be cute and pitiful. I refuse to believe he can remain angry. A coquettish woman always fares best. Listening to Xiaobai's aggrieved explanation, a hint of suspicion arose within you. You came out to find father. Upon hearing this, Liu Ruyan's heart faltered, yet she maintained a facade of utmost innocence. But of course, why else would I have come all the way here? I missed father so much. I waited in the stone cave for ages, but father didn't return, so I thought to come find you, who knew this forest was so vast. I simply got lost. Her tone was imbued with a natural certainty, laced with a touch of grievance and innocent charm. Secretly within her heart, she silently prayed that the legacy blood pearl she had left behind had escaped your notice, lest her elaborate act be rendered meaningless. Witnessing Liu Ruyan's sincere demeanor, you couldn't help but feel a flicker of belief. Could Ziobai truly be so directionally challenged, genuinely lost? Yet you swiftly found solace, for whether she deceived you or not, she remained your cherished daughter. Enough with the tears now. Father will take you home. Your deep voice carried a distinct note of tenderness. Seeing that you seemed to believe her, Liu Ruyan exhaled in relief, secretly musing in her heart, hee, father truly dotes on me still. Upon returning to the stone cave, before you could even speak, Liu Ruyan quickly began to wheedle. Father, I'm hungry. Please roast some meat for me, quickly. Then wait by the side. You offered Liu Ruyan a doting smile. Thereupon, while you were washing the meat and your attention was diverted, Liu Ruyan swiftly slipped back into the stone cave, retrieving the legacy blood pearl she had left behind, ensuring it remained hidden from your sight. This escapade, it seemed, had utterly failed. It was at this moment that an extraordinary aroma drifted from afar, causing Liu Ruyan's heart to leap in astonishment. Could this be a heaven, an earth's spiritual treasure? She immediately dashed out of the cave, looking towards the source of the scent. It seems to be coming from the orchard. Concurrently, you too detected the peculiar fragrance and hastened to the scene. Let us go and see. In Liu Ruyan's round, gleaming eyes, the light of eager anticipation flickered. You nodded, for you too were filled with curiosity regarding that exotic aroma. The father and daughter arrived at the orchard, where a rich, unusual fragrance wafted forth. Liu Ruyan's eyes brightened as her gaze fixed upon a crimson fruit, one that seemed enshrouded in a layer of flame, radiating an intense, fiery aura. Upon beholding this fruit, her eyes instantly blazed with recognition, a fire spirit fruit. As a human empress in her previous life, her knowledge was naturally profound. Her nimble eyes were riveted upon the fruit in the orchard, and within her heart she marveled indeed. It is a fire spirit fruit, beyond a shadow of a doubt. To think that father's orchard would yield such a rare spiritual fruit. The fire spirit fruit, a rare and precious spiritual fruit of the fire attribute, when consumed, could immensely temper the physical body, rendering one immune to ordinary flames' searing touch and offering a chance to awaken innate fire attribute abilities. What further thrilled Liu Ruyan was that the purple yang breathing method she practiced was inherently a fire attribute cultivation method with the aid of a fire spirit fruit. My cultivation speed is bound to increase dramatically. This is truly a blessing from the heavenly Tao. Immediately thereafter, her gaze swept across the orchard, revealing numerous other mutated spiritual fruits beyond the fire spirit fruit. That is a blood soul fruit. Her small tiger paw lifted slightly, pointing towards a fruit of eerie hue not far off. It seemed to possess a strange, captivating allure, rendering her gaze unable to tear away. This is a profound heart fruit. As she espied yet another fruit radiating a peculiar aura, the astonishment within her heart deepened even further. Liu Ruyan's excitement became evident. She bounded and skipped among the fruit trees, utterly captivated by these spiritual fruits. If I could acquire all of these fruits, my strength would surely advance by leaps and bounds. Witnessing this, your gaze turned scrutinizing, and with furrowed brows, you inquired Xiaobai, do you recognize these fruits? Within your tiger eyes, a glimmer of doubt flickered, and you secretly mused upon Xiaobai's reaction. Why does I display such profound interest in these fruits? Upon hearing your question, Liu Ruyan's heart skipped a beat. Realizing her previous display might have been overly enthusiastic, she swiftly shook her head and explained, how could I possibly recognize them? I merely find these fruits exceedingly beautiful and pleasing to the eye. She blinked her eyes, feigning an air of naive innocence, while within her heart a wave of lingering fear washed over her. I nearly gave myself away. I must not let father discover my secret. You did not press further, nor did you wish to, for you held faith that one day, without the need for your inquiry, Liu Ruyan would willingly divulge her secrets to you. Nevertheless, you could discern that for Liu Ruyan to display such elation, these fruits must undoubtedly be extraordinary. With a powerful leap, you plucked a fire spirit fruit. It pulsated with intense heat, feeling as though you held a ball of living flame within your tiger claws. You scrutinized the fruit with doubt, muttering inwardly, can this object even be consumed? It appears quite peculiar. Yet intuition whispered of its benefits. After a moment's hesitation, you resolved, no matter, I shall attempt it. In the next instant, you devoured the fire spirit fruit whole. As it crossed your palate, a surge of searing heat coursed through your veins. Your frame shuddered violently as the heat transformed into a fiery serpent, thrashing wildly within your body and causing significant distress. However, the scorching sensation soon dissipated into nothingness. Suddenly, the system's chime echoed in your mind. Congratulations, host, for consuming a fire spirit fruit. You have gained 0 attribute points. You were struck with amazement, your tiger eyes widening as you could scarcely believe the proclamation. This single fruit had actually bestowed upon you a staggering 0 attribute points. What then of your arduous efforts and cultivation all this time? Was it all merely a fool's errand? Soon, your doubtful gaze ignited with fervor, turning with newfound excitement toward the remaining mutated fruits. With so many fruits, if each yielded 0 points, would devouring them all not allow you to achieve a breakthrough? Driven by this thought, you lunged forward and swallowed a golden, yellow fruit into your belly. Congratulations, host, for consuming a Titan strength fruit. You have gained 800 attribute points. This is truly magnificent. You were so elated you nearly leaped for joy. These fruits are nothing less than divine treasures. Regret washed over you had you known these fruits would be so potent after the spiritual Kai awakening. You would have transplanted every orchard from the mountains to your own domain. Why bother with grueling labor? One could simply feast upon these fruits daily. Meanwhile, Liu Ruyan stared in stunned silence as you gulped down 2 heavenly spirit fruits like a common beast. In her heart, 10,000 tigers seemed to roar, what a waste of heaven's gifts. How could one consume heavenly spirit fruits in such a crude manner? These were rare treasures. Their essence should have been refined and absorbed with the utmost patience. Father is so wasteful. It infuriates me. Yet, she too was consumed by greed looking at those fruits. She could hardly restrain her salivation. Seeing you prepare for another round, she finally burst out, I want to eat too. Father is so cruel, eating so many for himself and giving none to me. Liu Ruyan gazed at you piteously, employing her ultimate technique of acting cute and spoiled once more. Previously, whenever she desired something, a bit of coaxing and cuteness would ensure you granted her wish. Surely this time would be no different. You wish to eat as well. You hesitated. A single fruit yielded 0 0 points, indicating it contained immense, volatile energy. It wasn't that you were unwilling to share, though the fruits offered great power. You truly regarded Liu Ruyan as your own daughter, and what father does not cherish his child? You merely worried whether Liu Ruyan's small frame could withstand such vast, concentrated energy. Little White, you are still small. What if your body cannot handle the power within these fruits?
No, father, I simply must have one.
Liu Ruyan pouted her small lips, nuzzling against you incessantly. Seeing the yearning in Little White's eyes, your heart eventually softened.
Very well then.
Then you procured a fruit and carefully divided a quarter of it for her. Little White, this fruit contains immense energy. You cannot eat too much, for it is difficult to digest. Liu Ruyan stared at the tiny fragment of the spirit fruit you offered, her mind filled with confusion. You're giving only this much. Do you think you're feeding a kitten or a pup?
Holding the minuscule piece of fruit, Liu Ruyan looked up at you again, her eyes brimming with tears. Father, it is no matter. I can digest it easily. What a joke! She possessed the purple sun-breathing method. Regardless of the quantity, she could refine it all. Yet she could not reveal her secret. Be good. Once your strength has grown, I promise you shall eat your fill.
You reached out and gently patted her small head.
To maintain her persona as a refined and obedient tiger, Liu Ruyan could only comply.
Fine then, when I am grown, I shall devour the fruits of the entire orchard.
They shall all be yours. You granted a doting nod.
Yet in your heart, you mused HMPH, by the time you have grown, I shall have long since consumed them all.
Thereupon you swallowed several more fruits.
Liu Ruyan watched in a daze, doubt surging within her in the awakening realm. How can father devour so many spiritual fruits of heaven and earth? Is he not afraid of being torn asunder by the sheer energy? Her petite lips pursed slightly as she grumbled in her heart. You old geezer, hoarding all the treasures for yourself. When the chance arises, I shall feast upon these fruits until I am satisfied. Not a single fruit, no, not even a single seed shall I leave for you.
Little did you know the schemes brewing within Liu Ruyan's mind.
After devouring a few more fruits, you excitedly summoned your attribute panel.
Level 12, next evolution requires 8 zeros. 0 attribute points. Current attribute points 500.
Through the rigors of recent training and the spiritual essence of the fruits just consumed, you had amassed 500 attribute points. Great joy filled your heart. The attribute points gained from the fruits today were a most welcome windfall. At this rate, it would not be long before you ascended to the next level once more. You then cast your gaze across the orchard once more. Many fruits remained within the orchard, yet they appeared not yet ripe.
Thus, you led the reluctant Liu Ruyan away from the orchard, intending to return after some time had passed.
Liu Ruyan followed behind, constantly glancing back. Seeing every ripened spirit fruit vanish into your gullet, her heart seethed with indignation.
Had she known such spirit fruits existed here, she would have come in secret to devour them all.
At that moment, a realization struck you. If the fruits in your orchard could mutate, then the wild fruits within the forest must have undergone similar transformations. Your eyes gleamed with anticipation.
Henceforth, while out hunting, you could search for these exotic mutated fruits.
Perhaps you might even discover mutated fruits more precious than those within your orchard. Should they be unripe, you could even uproot the entire tree and bring it back.
Liu Ruyan naturally shared this thought, but for now she dared not venture away. If she were caught once more, her previous excuses would no longer suffice. However, a new scheme had already formed in her mind. Success or failure would be decided this very night. In the deepest watch of the night, at the hour of 2:30. While you slumbered soundly within the stone cave, a figure crept silently from the stone house. It was Liu Ruyan.
Her petite form moved through the darkness like a lithe white cat, stealthily making her way toward the orchard. Within the orchard, several spirit fruits emanated an exotic fragrance indeed. More had reached maturity.
Liu Ruyan's eyes shimmered with light, her excitement akin to a child who had discovered a hidden hoard of treasure. Her petite tiger claws reached out with impatient haste, poised to strike.
Suddenly, your voice rang out. Little White, you are being disobedient once again. Your voice resonated with startling clarity through the silent orchard. Liu Ruyan trembled, her excitement instantly replaced by panic. I have been discovered by father, she lamented inwardly.
She had been so cautious, how could she have been detected?
Father, what brings you here? Liu Ruyan's watery eyes blinked, and her furry ears twitched as she tilted her head to the side. Her petite lips pursed slightly, her small claws wringing together before her. I simply could not sleep and came to take a look." As she spoke, her nimble gaze swept across the orchard, finally resting upon the fruits. These fruits have grown so beautifully. Your gaze remained fixed upon the little actress, Little White, as if your eyes could pierce through all deceptions. This little one was playing tricks with you once more. How could you not know her intent? The little creature was surely overcome by greed, seeking to steal a taste of the fruits. You sighed inwardly. It was not that you begrudged her the fruits, but rather you feared for her well-being. These fruits provided immense attribute points, for the energy contained within them was terrifyingly vast. Little White, in her diminutive form, would likely struggle to digest such power. A thought occurred to you. Lowering your head and knitting your brows, you inquired, "Have you already digested the fruit I gave you earlier today?" Could this little one be forcing herself to endure despite being unable to digest it? You hoped no harm would befall her. They were but mutated fruits. If lost, they could be found again, however. Little White must not come to any harm. Liu Ruyan was taken aback. She had not expected such a question. However, she recovered quickly and nodded. She gloated inwardly. If I let father know that I am perfectly capable of digesting more, perhaps he will grant me even more fruits to feast upon. Rest assured, father, I have completely refined and digested them all. Is your body unharmed? Your solemn gaze swept across Liu Ruyan, as if trying to discern whether she was speaking falsehoods. I am perfectly fine. Liu Ruyan patted her chest and spoke with utmost certainty, though inwardly she was as smug as a little peacock. Are you joking? Do you not know who I am? I possess the purple sun-breathing technique. These spirit fruits are mere child's play to me. Liu Ruyan lifted her head, looking at you with eager eyes. Her tiny tiger paws tugged at your fur, gently shaking it as she unleashed her ultimate art of acting coy. Just let me eat one more. These fruits are truly so beautiful. I just wish for a taste. Looking into Liu Ruyan's yearning eyes, your heart wavered. Suddenly, realization dawned upon you. Little White definitely harbored a secret that allowed her to rapidly digest the mutated fruits. Could this be related to her bloodline inheritance? If Little White truly was the reincarnation of a demonic god, perhaps she possessed some sort of extraordinary innate ability. So be it. If she is indeed the reincarnation of a demonic god, she surely knows her own limits. You may only eat one more, you finally said with a sigh of resignation. In the future, once the fruits ripen, you may consume one per day. You are forbidden to eat any more than that. You did not want Little White to suffer harm from her gluttony, yet neither did you wish to stifle her growth. Hearing this, Liu Ruyan was instantly overcome with excitement. Wonderful. Her tiny frame bounced up and down on the spot. Long live father. Father is the greatest father in all under the heavens. At this time, nearly 2 months had passed since the revival of spiritual Kai. In the Dragon Kingdom, the initial riots of mutated beasts had plunged the entire nation into absolute chaos. However, with the emergence of Transcendence, the tide began to turn. Transcendents were those who had consumed mutated fruits and successfully awakened extraordinary abilities. Once this matter was exposed, it ignited a feverish frenzy for transcendence. Various financial syndicates, aristocratic families, and the military began scouring all corners of the world for these mutated fruits to cultivate their own transcendence. They were like a horde of crazed treasure hunters, desperately searching everywhere for those precious, anomalous fruits. As transcendence continuously emerged across various nations, a heavenly 100 rankings was established, claiming to list the 100 most terrifying existences under the heavens, beings akin to deities descending upon the mortal realm. Meanwhile, a piece of news caused a massive uproar in Lishan City. The Kaingsheng Group and the Heisi Group had formed a formidable alliance, preparing to march their forces into the great Lishan mountain range. The Kaingsheng Group and Heisi Group were the absolute zenith of financial power in Lishan City, ranking first and second, holding prestigious status even throughout the entire Dragon Kingdom. These two colossal syndicates were like towering, majestic mountains, standing imposingly over the commercial domain of Lishan City. Recently, they had even recruited the Winged One and the Wind Spirit, both of whom were listed on the heavenly 100 rankings. The Winged One possessed a pair of massive, manifested wings upon his back, from which he derived his title. A mere flap could conjure a violent gale, and his wings were as razor, sharp as divine blades. The Wind Spirit had awakened abilities of the wind attribute, with ethereal air currents constantly wreathing his body. Their presence granted the two great syndicates the might of a tiger blessed with wings. Furthermore, under their respective banners, they had each established a vanguard squad of transcendence.
with the spiritual Kai having only revived a mere 2 months ago. Describing their ranks as teeming with experts like clouds in the sky would be no exaggeration. Yet, the great Lishan mountain range was the absolute stronghold of the mutated beasts. Could these two mighty syndicates truly succeed?
At this very moment, deep within the forest, beneath the canopy of mutated trees that blotted out the sun, an eerie and bone-chilling silence pervaded.
The mutated beasts that still survived were all those who had emerged victorious from the brutal slaughter, each carving out their own territory and reigning as local overlords. At this moment, only your colossal silhouette weaved silently through the shadows. Your gaze was fixed intently upon a fruit tree not far away, a prize discovered not long ago when Sol was scouting the area. The fruits hanging from the tree emanated a radiant emerald light, shimmering like magnificent barrels. As you gazed at these fruits, your eyes immediately gleamed with piercing brilliance. Your instincts told you that they contained boundless and tremendous energy. By consuming these fruits, you were bound to reap a bountiful harvest of evolution points. Right at that moment, an enraged roar echoed through the air. Beneath the fruit tree, a gargantuan black panther snarled viciously at you. The Black Panther's physique appeared to be forged from divine steel, its taut muscles rippled with explosive power. A ferocious glint flickered within its emerald eyes, locked onto you like two clusters of blazing hellfire. That previous roar had been its stark warning to you. The very instant you materialized, it had instinctively felt a deep, seated dread toward your presence. If this were the past, you would have undoubtedly turned and fled, but now things were different. Behind the beast lay exceptionally rare spirit fruits that it had painstakingly discovered, and it had no intention of handing them over so easily. Seeing that you gave no response and continued your relentless approach, the Black Panther issued another warning, lowering its body slightly as it assumed a combat stance. Seeing this, a look of profound disdain crossed your face. Scram, what does this have to do with you? With those words, you fiercely swung your massive tiger paw, whipping up a howling gale. Before the Black Panther could even react, the image of a gargantuan tiger paw rapidly expanded within its pupils with blinding speed. It was entirely unable to respond in time, as the thunderous slap directly sent it hurtling through the air. The Black Panther's body flew like a broken ragdoll, tracing an arc through the air before violently crashing into a massive tree with a deafening bang. Its body gouged a deep crater into the earth, churning up the surrounding soil. Looking at the Black Panther you had swatted away, you felt not a shred of pity in your heart as you slowly approached the fruit tree. Although the Black Panther was infuriated, that single slap had completely shattered its will to resist. Ignoring the agonizing pain racking its body, it turned tail and fled. You couldn't be bothered to pay it any further mind. Extending your tiger paw, you plucked the emerald fruit and swallowed it in a single gulp. The system's notification chimed within your mind. Congratulations, host, for obtaining 0 attribute points. With a mere shift of your will, you opened the attribute panel, level 12, attribute points required for the next upgrade 8000. Current attribute points 9000. Finally, it's enough. Wild ecstasy surged in your heart. Over the past few days, you had continuously dispatched your subjugated spirits to scour the outside world. After such prolonged and arduous effort, you had finally accumulated sufficient attribute points. You issued another command, ordering the subjugated spirits to continue their search, while you turned and returned to your lair. After ensuring no demonic beasts had trespassed into your territory, you willed the upgrade to commence. Upgrade? In the very next instant, a tempestuous radiance erupted around your body, the intense light seemingly bursting forth from the very depths of your being. Your form began to steadily expand. That already colossal physique grew even more towering and majestic, your aura swelling ceaselessly as it radiated a sovereign brilliance. Liu Ruyan, who had been secretly in the midst of cultivation, immediately stopped upon sensing the transformation in your aura. Watching from the sidelines, she marveled inwardly. Father is truly becoming more and more terrifying. Her petite tiger paws clenched tightly together, a trace of anxiety taking root in her heart. Father's strength grows ever mightier. Yet the progress of my cultivation is so sluggish. At this rate, the chasm between us will only widen. Damn it, if this continues, in what year or month will I ever be able to escape this place? Father should have reached the late stage of the awakening realm by now. This aura is vastly more formidable than before. She was acutely aware of the blistering pace at which her father's strength grew. If she remained by his side, she feared she would never surpass him in this lifetime. She pondered secretly to achieve a breakthrough and surpass her father. She simply had to leave. According to the memories of her past life,
That divine treasure in the Changbai Mountains was on the verge of manifesting. That might very well be her chance for a break, through she had to rush there as swiftly as possible.
Leave. I must find an opportunity to leave. Liu Ruyan's gaze hardened with resolve, biting her lip gently as she chanted silently in her heart. She was confident that having reached the mid-stage of the awakening realm, she could naturally sweep away all obstacles once she left, save for an absolute anomaly like her father. The following day, you strolled through the ancient forest, accompanied by your newly acquired subjugated spirits. However, because you had led them out on daily patrols recently, the nearby spirit fruits had been thoroughly pillaged by you, forcing your search radius to stretch further and further outward, and your terrifying might had garnered the unanimous dread and respect of the demonic beasts in this realm. As a result, this entire territory had practically become your private backyard, your patrol routes expanding outward by several miles. Your gaze, as if drawn by a mystical force, locked firmly onto a peculiar, exotic fruit. It emitted a faint, ethereal glow, hanging from the bough of a massive tree like a gemstone meticulously carved by the passage of time. Your eyes instantly lit up. Just as you prepared to pluck the exotic fruit, a ferocious demonic beast lunged abruptly from the adjacent thicket. Yet, rather than launching an attack, it merely fled in panicked desperation. You narrowed your eyes, wondering inwardly for a moment, am I truly that terrifying? You were just about to retrieve the exotic fruit when a sudden volley of dense, anomalous noises forced you to halt. The sound echoed through the forest, stark and jarring. You turned your ear to listen intently, your expression turning grave. That sounds like gunfire. Could Little White be in danger? At this moment, on the periphery of the Great Lai mountain range, a battle squad of Transcendents was besieging a demonic beast. At the rear of the entire formation, a young man stared deathly at the creature, a hand pressed to his earpiece as he issued methodical commands. Damn it, this beast runs fast. Everyone, attention, form an encirclement, but do not draw too close. This bastard is at the end of its rope. Hold on just a little longer, and we will surely bleed it to death. Squad 2, attention. You have casualties on your end, and the beast is highly likely to attempt a breakout through your sector. Squads 3 and 4, prepare to reinforce Squad 2 at a moment's notice. Under the captain's orchestrations, everyone began to close the net around the demonic beast. This was an evolved wild wolf, possessing a gargantuan frame covered entirely in diamond, hard scales that shimmered with an eerie, bewitching light beneath the dappled sun. Under the storm of bullets, cascades of sparks continually erupted off its scales. It roared in unfettered fury, the sound so devastating it felt as though it could shatter one's eardrums. But the barrage of machine gun fire did not cease. The bullets continuously hailed upon the demonic beast, punching shallow dents into its armored hide. In the next second, the giant wolf unleashed a thunderous bellow, spewing roaring flames from its maw. The inferno manifested like a vicious serpent of fire, lunging toward the surrounding Transcendents. Wherever it passed, the surrounding fallen leaves ignited instantly, billowing with thick black smoke as the acrid stench of ash permeated the air. Damn it, this flame can actually lock onto targets autonomously. Retreat now. It's too late. This beast intends to drag us down to hell with it, in mutual destruction. Just at this precipice of doom, a silver silhouette suddenly descended from the heavens. The twin wings upon the back of this winged being glinted with iridescent, multicolored light beneath the sun, as if harboring the most esoteric power in the mortal realm. The very moment he appeared, the surrounding air seemed to be instantaneously siphoned away, descending into a suffocating, leaden heaviness. He tilted his head up slightly, his stark, frigid countenance seemingly encased in glacial frost, while the destructive radiance of lightning crackled within his eyes. Everyone, fall back at once. Having spoken, he raised his hand in a gentle wave. In an instant, the power of lightning erupted from his wings. The crackling thunderbolts took the form of wrathful flood dragons, snapping and detonating through the air with an aura poised to annihilate all creation. As the heavenly lightning descended, the worm of flame spewed by the mutated fire wolf was obliterated in an instant. The surrounding ancient trees seemed to tremble before this overpowering might, with some of the frailer branches snapping under the shockwaves of the lightning, raining down with a cacophony of cracks. The fire wolf whipped its head around, its gaze dead, locked upon the winged being suspended in the heavens. Its eyes brimmed with profound unwillingness as deep, menacing growls tore from its throat. It could sense that this human possessed unfathomable strength, a strength so absolute it was utterly irresistible. The fire wolf wished to flee, but all its avenues of escape had been completely severed by the Transcendent Squad.
There was nothing left but to fight a desperate battle to the death.
And at this moment,
the winged being's gaze shifted to the colossal wolf of fire, a demonic beast that had awakened an innate talent. No wonder it was so difficult to subdue. However, the stronger you are, the more exorbitant your value. In the very next instant, the winged being vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a chilling, silver arc of electricity. When he reappeared, he was already at the back of the giant firewolf. Immediately following, he pointed a finger downwards. With a deafening boom, a bolt of heavenly lightning smote down fiercely upon the demonic beast. Struck by this unforeseen lightning, the demonic beast unleashed a howl of pure agony. Its massive frame convulsed violently as the thunderous impact blasted its scales into flying shrapnel. Yet this was merely the beginning. The winged being unfurled his wings and soared into the midair, appearing for all the world like a divine deity, commanding the thunder and lightning. The power of lightning surged incessantly from his wings, weaving into a dense web of electricity that completely enveloped the monstrous beast. The beast struggled within this electrical net, but could not break free. Each movement only invited more violent lightning strikes. Under the relentless barrage of thunder and lightning, the beast eventually failed to endure and collapsed, dead. Its once hard scales had been scorched black by the lightning, emitting a pungent, burnt odor. The captain's strength is becoming increasingly terrifying. An awakened one marveled, his eyes shimmering with the light of worship, as if gazing upon an unreachable being. Indeed, the captain is a powerhouse on the human top 100 list, ranked among the top 10 in the entire dragon country. Such might was truly transcendent before him. That monstrous beast was as insignificant as an ant. With the captain leading us this time, we are sure to return with a bountiful harvest. Hearing this, the winged man's cold countenance seemed shrouded in frost, and he spoke with grave solemnity. Enough idle chatter. Scour the vicinity for spirit fruits immediately. We must not fall behind the Chengsheng group. Upon hearing this, the crowd instantly shed their playful demeanor. The captain. Little did they know that as they battled fiercely, the great soul eagle hovered in the void, observing everything with perfect clarity and conveying the situation back to you. Standing several kilometers away, you received the information from the great soul eagle and murmured inwardly, "Humanity has set its sights on this place. It seems the days ahead will not be peaceful. A storm is brewing. Based on your understanding of humans, those not of their kin must surely harbor different hearts. Even if you had no intention of attacking them, once they discovered your existence, they would surely hunt you to the last." There was only one way to prevent such an outcome, to become stronger. In the past, if you could not win, you would simply flee, but now you have Ziobai. Because of Ziobai's presence, you have felt a newfound attachment to this world. Though in your eyes, Ziobai might very well be the reincarnation of a demon god, it mattered little. As long as she calls you father, she will forever be your daughter. I must accelerate the growth of my strength, I shall pet her 1,000 more times tomorrow. Elsewhere, seeing that you had not yet returned, Liu Ruyan decisively prepared to sneak into the orchard to steal some spirit fruits. As she skipped joyfully toward the orchard, the scene that met her eyes filled her with instant fury. A massive dark shadow moved through the orchard, unrestrainedly plucking spirit fruits, as if indulging in an all-you-can-eat buffet. Looking closer, she realized it was a giant black bear. Its body was like a small mountain, and its furry paws were stuffing spirit fruits into its mouth. Liu Ruyan was instantly enraged. Those were the spirit fruits her father had worked so hard to grow, and she hadn't even eaten many herself. How dare this black bear steal them? Her tiny tiger paws clenched into fists as she cried out in anger, "You bastard! How dare you steal my father's spirit fruits? See if I don't beat you to death." The black bear turned its head toward Liu Ruyan, its eyes full of disdain, completely ignoring her presence. It then plucked another fruit and shoved it into its maw. Liu Ruyan was furious now, the kind of fury that knows no bounds. Purple light flickered across her body, enveloping her like a mysterious and dazzling layer of armor. In the next instant, her small frame shot forward like an arrow released from a bow, charging directly at the black bear. The giant black bear still had no idea whom it had provoked. To the bear, Liu Ruyan was so tiny. What could she do even if she were angry? Given its own massive size, it could swat the little thing away with a single paw. It didn't even pay attention to her direction, continuing its feast with delight. The bear's mouth chewed incessantly, juices from the spirit fruits trickling down the corners of its maw. Vile creature, stop right there. With a sharp crack, Liu Ruyan's small tiger paw, shrouded in purple light and carrying a piercing momentum, struck the bear directly on its forehead. Though her body was small, it contained terrifying power. This single strike sent the massive black bear crashing to the ground.
With a dull thud, the bear was left dazed. The strength was perfectly calculated. It was stunned, yet spared of any lasting injury. When it finally saw clearly that it was Liu Ruyan, it beat its chest with its paws, producing heavy thumping sounds. Its eyes widened in absolute rage. It clearly hadn't expected that such a tiny thing could knock it down. It was a humiliation beyond measure. In the next second, the black bear swung its thick arms, the muscles upon them bulging. This, my friends, is absolute cinema. Our black tiger dad, radiating pure, wholesome parental energy, only to have his little white daughter secretly plotting her grand escape. Bro thinks she's a master strategist, concocting elaborate cult methods and dreaming of making father call her father. The sheer audacity of this cub, believing herself beyond the reach of her terrifyingly doting, human-souled dad. She actually slipped away, only to find herself trapped again, crying crocodile tears, because of course father's hunting range is just a bit too vast. So let's settle this is little white's constant deception, fueled by past trauma, justifiable. Or does father have every right to unleash the eye of fear and put an end to this adorable, yet deeply problematic, charade once and for all? Like a barrage of little sandbags, they hurled towards Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan's figure was agile, effortlessly dodging the black bear's attacks. She even playfully made a face at the black bear, teasing, "He, stupid bear, you cannot catch me." Seeing that it repeatedly failed to strike Liu Ruyan, the black bear instantly flew into a violent rage. Its eyes then turned crimson red, and its size abruptly doubled. That colossal frame resembled a small mountain, radiating an overwhelming sense of oppression. A bloodline talent, to think it was actually a black bear in the awakening realm. Liu Ruyan's tiny brows furrowed slightly in surprise. However, her astonishment was fleeting, and she quickly dismissed it from her mind. Aided by a vast quantity of spirit fruits during this period, her cultivation had already reached the middle stage of the awakening realm. This mere early-stage awakening realm black bear was not worthy of her regard. Did you think you were the only one with a bloodline talent? With a shift of her thoughts, Liu Ruyan executed her innate ability, clone technique. Several identical silhouettes instantly manifested, encircling the black bear in the center. Seeing two identical little white tigers materialize before its eyes, the black bear was instantly dumbfounded. By the time the black bear regained its senses, Liu Ruyan and her clones had already launched a coordinated assault upon the massive beast. Purple rays of light continuously flickered around the black bear as the colossal beast was beaten until it howled in agony. Although its offensive might was formidable, its movements were undeniably sluggish. Often, the moment it raised its paw, Liu Ruyan would anticipate its intent and evade in advance. At this moment, before Liu Ruyan, this giant black bear was nothing more than a large, mobile sandbag. However, just as Liu Ruyan was about to deliver the killing blow, the giant black bear abruptly clasped its head and begged for mercy. Its colossal body instantly curled up into a ball, two massive paws tightly hugging its head as its frame trembled incessantly. To think you even know how to beg for mercy, Liu Ruyan halted her delicate tiger claws. She gazed at the giant black bear with profound interest and said, "You giant, stupid bear, do you realize your mistake?" Evidently, this enormous fellow had already awakened a considerable amount of spiritual intelligence, which sparked an idea in Liu Ruyan's mind. Dad is capable of enslaving soul entities and has numerous subordinates under his command. As a dignified empress, I should also gather some underlings. Sparing you is permissible, but from this day forth, you shall be my underling. The great black bear did not comprehend the concept of an underling, but it knew that as long as it obeyed the little white tiger before it, it would survive. Thus it nodded vigorously. "Quite sensible, aren't you?" Liu Ruyan smiled triumphantly. Subsequently, she executed a secret technique. A mysterious ray of light shot forth from her tiger claw and seeped into the black bear's head. The great black bear felt a sharp, piercing pain in its mind, and immediately after, a soul contract was formed with Liu Ruyan. With this, the life and death of the great black bear were entirely under her absolute control. The giant black bear could also sense that an alien presence had nestled into its mind. "Very well, from this day forth, you are my underling, and you shall be called Xingda. Hurry up and leave. If you don't depart before my dad returns, you won't be able to leave at all." Speak of the devil, and he appears. At that very moment, your voice drifted over from afar, little white. Have you been sneaking food again? Sensing your terrifying aura, the giant black bear decisively raised its rear and fled, plunging back into the woods from whence it came. Only after ensuring the giant black bear had completely vanished did Liu Ruyan turn around with peace of mind to greet you. However, what Liu Ruyan did not know was that, through your ghostly subordinates, you had long since discovered her connection with the Great Black Bear. But considering your daughter's identity as the reincarnation of a demonic god, you harbored no intentions of pursuing the matter. In your eyes, everyone has their own secrets. Perhaps this was Little White's destined fortune, and you did not wish to interfere too much. However, the thought of the humans outside made you feel it necessary to issue a warning to Little White. Therefore, upon seeing Liu Ruyan, you refrained from asking further and directly spoke. Little White, under no circumstances are you to leave this place during this period of time. Hearing this, Liu Ruyan's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Dad had discovered her plans to slip away once more? A trace of panic flashed through her vivid eyes, but she quickly composed herself, blinking her large, expressive eyes as she spoke with endearing innocence. What are you saying? I couldn't bear to part with you. Uncertain whether Liu Ruyan's words were true or false, you replied with a hint of admonition. It is best, of course, if you do not leave. The outside world is now swarming with humans. It is far too perilous. Liu Ruyan was momentarily stunned, but she soon understood. The humans had begun making their moves against the exotic beasts. Calculating the time, it was indeed about right. As an empress who had been one of humanity's supreme combatants in her past life, she possessed a certain degree of understanding regarding human operations. It was just that the actions of humanity in this life seemed even swifter than in her previous incarnation. Seeing Liu Ruyan freeze in astonishment, you assumed she could not comprehend your words, and thus explained. Humans are an utterly terrifying species. If you are ever captured by them, you will suffer a fate far worse than death. Hearing this, Liu Ruyan was thoroughly stunned. Was this how Father viewed humanity? It seemed he was truly the reincarnation of an ancient demonic god, without a doubt. Born to stand in absolute opposition to humanity, if so, it is even more imperative that I not let Father discover I possess a human soul. Her petite frame trembled slightly, feigning the appearance of being dreadfully frightened. Liu Ruyan hastily threw herself onto you, crying out loudly, "What terrifying humans! Father, I am scared." "Fear not, with Father here, I will absolutely never allow you to come to any harm." Seeing her state, you immediately offered gentle comfort, your gaze brimming with profound affection and parental concern. However, within the depths of her heart, Liu Ruyan was calculating an entirely different scheme, quietly harboring her own cunning machinations. According to the memories of her past life, within merely a few months of the spiritual energy's revival, humans began a frenzied march into the forest to plunder spirit fruits, much like ravenous wolves catching the scent of blood. It appears the human's father spoke of must have come seeking the spirit fruits hidden within this ancient forest. Should that come to pass, this vast forest will undoubtedly be plunged into absolute chaos. At this thought, Liu Ruyan's vivid eyes darted about nimbly, a glimmer of delight flashing in their depths. This is a rare opportunity to escape, one I absolutely cannot miss. Once the human forces encroach upon Father's territory, he will certainly have no time to look after me. If I slip away amidst the turmoil, even if he discovers my absence, he likely will not be able to pursue me immediately. I am truly brilliant. As she plotted, she stealthily observed your expression, terrified that her father might see right through her inner thoughts. She was not particularly concerned for her father's safety, as the catastrophic scenes of her previous life remained vividly etched in her mind. When humanity first marched into the forest, they indeed relied on the overwhelming advantage of their mortal weaponry to slaughter countless demonic beasts. Yet the evolutionary speed of the demonic beasts inherently surpassed that of humans, coupled with the omnipresence of exotic spirit fruits scattered throughout the forest. These exotic fruits were like mystical treasures bestowed upon the beasts by nature itself, allowing them to rapidly elevate their strength. Thus, it was not long before humanity suffered a devastating counterattack from the horde of beasts. The once imperious and unyielding human legions, under the relentless siege of the demonic beasts, began to retreat in utter defeat, and of the human transcendents who had advanced into the deep mountains, not even 1 in 10 survived. In a remarkably short span of time, the deep mountains across the nation transformed into a paradise for demonic beasts and an absolute forbidden zone for humanity. And in Liu Ruyan's eyes, what exactly was her father? He was the magnificent reincarnation of a demonic god. His strength was like a bottomless ocean, profoundly mysterious and unfathomably powerful. Those ordinary thermal weapons would likely be nothing more than mere children's toys before him, utterly incapable of causing him the slightest harm. She even felt that if humanity dared to scheme against her father, it would undoubtedly be the humans who suffered a calamitous doom. I only hope these humans will distract Father, just as I envision, otherwise,
I shall have no chance to make my escape." Feigning innocent curiosity in her eyes, she asked, "Are these humans truly so mighty? Can even father not defeat them?" A smile graced your eyes as you proudly raised your head, casting a gaze toward the direction of the human forces, a flicker of profound disdain flashing in your eyes. "Naturally, father can vanquish them. It is simply that humans wield a highly destructive weapon, and should a fierce battle erupt, father fears you might be injured." These words came from the very depths of your soul. Dealing with that flock of humans would be, for you, as effortless as turning your palm. Those mortal weapons would not even suffice to scratch your itch. Only the deployment of their grandest thermal armaments would warrant any trace of apprehension from you. Yet, Little White had not fully matured, and those very weapons could still inflict genuine harm upon her. Upon hearing this, Liu Ruyan immediately nodded with obedient grace. "So that is the case. Rest assured, father, I will not wander off recklessly. I shall never become a burden to you." Though she spoke such sweet words, her clever little mind was already weaving a grand scheme of escape, merely biding her time for the perfect moment to strike. "I am sorry, but I absolutely must go forth to pursue the fortuitous encounters destined for me. Once I have grown to supreme power, I will definitely return to see you. I only hope that when that time comes, you will neither cast me out nor blame me for my departure. Although you knew it was impossible for the humans to invade the forest depths in the short term. Just in case, and to prevent your sanctuary from being prematurely discovered, you dispatched all your spectral thralls over the following days to keep a vigilant watch on the humans' movements. With a mere thought, you summoned your celestial status panel. Level 13, Advanced Skills Leap, Stealth, Supreme Hearing. Expend 1,000 attribute points to upgrade an advanced skill. Primary Innate Talents, Tiger, Vajra Claws, Eye of Dread, Nether Sprint. Expend 3,000 attribute points to upgrade a primary innate talent. Attribute points 6,000. 6,000 attribute points, still 4,000 short of the next breakthrough. You locked your gaze firmly upon the system panel, hesitating for a moment as your eyes swept back and forth across the myriad of divine skills. After profound contemplation, you resolved to upgrade both Advanced Stealth and Advanced Supreme Hearing. Now that the mortal interlopers had breached the forest, unforeseen calamities could manifest at any moment. With another flick of your will, 2,000 attribute points instantly vanished, infused seamlessly into Advanced Stealth and Supreme Hearing. As the attribute points integrated, the original Advanced Stealth and Supreme Hearing instantly underwent a miraculous metamorphosis. Invisibility, Art Primary, remain perfectly motionless for 10 seconds, and you shall achieve true invisibility. The all-hearing ear novice grants the ability to discern every rustle and whisper within a radius of 3,000 meters. Within your once composed, tiger-like gaze, an unquenchable spark of elation now blazed forth. Verily, this power transcends the mundane. Yet, a minor imperfection revealed itself, motion was denied, whilst cloaked in invisibility. Nevertheless, tranquility swiftly embraced your spirit. Should such an ability permit movement, would it not render one an unmatched assassin, with none able to evade their unseen strike? Such power would surely be deemed a transgression against the very balance of existence, a divine cheat too profound. Subsequently, you resumed the trial of your all-hearing ear. A sensation akin to a soft zephyr caressed your ears thereafter, that ephemeral breeze transmuted into myriad unseen silken threads, unfurling outwards in every conceivable direction. Within the sanctum of your mind, an ethereal radar materialized, ceaselessly gathering sonic echoes from the distant reaches. It was at this very moment that the voice of Liu Ruyan reached your perception, a whisper delicate as a mosquito's hum, yet piercingly clear to your augmented senses. "It appears father remains unaware of my schemes. Thus, if I but bide my time with patience, an opportune moment shall surely present itself." Upon perceiving these words, your brow furrowed in contemplation, and thoughts stirred silently within your heart. What manner of opportunity could she seek? Doth this fledgling soul conspire in matters unbeknownst to me? A veil of perplexity descended upon you, tinged with a nascent worry, for the hidden intentions within Xiaobai's heart remained an enigma. Nevertheless, you resolved to dismiss the minor machinations of Xiaobai from your immediate concerns. Your attention now turned to the human cultivators, relentlessly slaughtering demonic beasts along the outer fringes. As for your daughter, who had seemingly embraced an era of defiance, you decreed that her guidance would be a task for a later, more tranquil epoch. The paramount concern now was to draw nigh unto the outer reaches, there to ascertain the precise circumstances of these human encroachers. Your lithe and powerful form materialized upon the outer frontiers of the Grand Separation mountain range. The very air of this place seemed saturated with the pungent tang of spilled blood. Upon your path, numerous vestiges of fierce combat were discerned. The blood of demonic beasts stained the earth everywhere, yet their fallen forms were conspicuously absent. Evidently, they had been borne away by the human cultivators. Concurrently, the imprints of human passage were manifest in every direction. You sought a lofty perch and settled silently, observing. A brief interval passed, and you dissolved into an invisible state, simultaneously invoking the power of the all-hearing ear. Every rustle and whisper, every subtle tremor within your vicinity, could now escape not your acute perception. And behold, not far from your hidden vigil, a contingent of transcendence, led by the formidable Winged One, was engaged in a fierce and unyielding battle. These demonic beasts have grown ever more formidable to slay of late. Verily, none can deny it. With each deep adventure, the might of these demonic beasts swells proportionally. Yet the flesh of these very demonic beasts can command a handsome price. Cease your idle chatter, dispatch this demonic beast before us with haste, for other vital tasks await our attention this day. Under the unwavering command of the Winged One, they once more brought low a ferocious demonic beast. In its final throes, the demonic beast unleashed a mournful roar of agony, which reverberated ominously through the ancient forest. Upon beholding this grim spectacle, the other demonic beasts in the vicinity were seized by terror, scattering in frantic disarray. They perceived the insurmountable might of the Winged One, and though resistance flickered in their hearts, they were utterly outmatched. As the conflict ceased, the Winged One remained aloft, an ethereal sentinel surveying the ravaged earth beneath him. He discerned the presence of other demonic beasts lurking in the shadows, yet refrained from further action. The remaining members of the transcendent contingent swiftly commenced the arduous task of salvaging the battlefield. Reporting, Grand Captain, our recent foray into the Grand Separation mountain range has yielded scores of unique exotic fruits. Your leadership has been paramount surely. A significant portion shall be allocated to your esteemed self. Upon the Winged One's austere visage, no trace of emotion stirred. He merely spoke with a voice devoid of inflection. The precise apportionment of these treasures shall, in truth, be determined by the decree of the Grand Conglomerate's esteemed elders. In truth, for the Winged One, though these exotic fruits possessed undeniable value, his paramount concern lay with the profound success of this undertaking and his exalted stature within the Grand Conglomerate. For only through such ascendance would greater boons be reaped in epochs to come. Upon grasping his implication, the multitude understood with innate clarity they were but mere servants, and such treasures lay beyond the grasp of their aspirations. The grand young master shall arrive in but 3 days. We must redouble our efforts, for we cannot permit the adherents of the everlasting conglomerate to eclipse our achievements. Do you comprehend, Grand Captain? The assembled cultivators responded with a unified, resounding affirmation. Scores of exotic fruits. By the great Tao, these humans are obscenely affluent. 2,000 meters distant, concealed within the shroud of a darkened grove, your once composed gaze ignited with an infernal fervor, and a primal instinct compelled you to moisten your lips with a languid tongue. He. Verily, the time for my intervention has arrived. At this crucial juncture, you unleashed forth your legion of ghost servants. With your singular command, every spectral entity erupted in a cacophony of piercing wails, and a potent soul-shattering impact surged outwards, engulfing all. The armed human sentries felt a sudden, agonizing sting pierce the depths of their consciousness. What is the meaning of this? My head! They felt as though 10,000 steel needles were plunging into their skulls. Their eyes became bloodshot, their features contorted in agony, and their consciousness began to fade. Then darkness consumed their sight, and they collapsed into a state of unconsciousness. You then unleashed the nether ghost step. Your gargantuan form became a streak of black lightning, arriving at the heart of the camp in an instant. Damned beast! At that moment, a thunderous roar erupted as a winged man charged forth like a bolt of lightning. The winged man's pinions unfurled violently as the power of thunder and lightning surged across them, crackling with such intensity that the very air seemed to ionize. His gaze was filled with arrogance and conviction in his eyes. This encroaching beast was merely courting its own demise. You paid him no heed whatsoever. Your massive frame, akin to a war machine, forged of cold steel, was taut with muscles brimming with explosive power. Within those tiger-like eyes, a frigid light shimmered, as if gazing upon a trivial ant. The winged man was the first to strike. He waved his hands, and the lightning upon his wings transformed into wrathful flood dragons, howling as they lunged toward you. Yet you were swifter. With a mere flicker of movement, you effortlessly evaded that lethal bolt of lightning.
Immediately after, you lunged forward with overwhelming force.
Golden light radiated from your thick tiger claws. It was the first time you had fused the nether ghost step with the diamond claws.
The tiger claws swung down with a thunderous whistle, possessing a momentum that seemed capable of cleaving heaven and earth asunder.
The winged man was struck with terror. He frantically mobilized all his transcendent power in a desperate attempt to parry your fatal strike. But his strength appeared utterly insignificant before your might. Your tiger claws slammed brutally into the winged man. With a resounding thud, he spat out a fountain of blood, soaring backward like a kite with a severed string.
His body traced a grim arc through the air before crashing heavily onto the ground, his fate unknown.
The surrounding transcendents witnessed this scene, their hearts consumed by sheer panic.
How can this be possible?
The commander is a powerhouse on the human top 100 list, yet he was so fragile before this beast.
It is all over. We are finished.
What manner of monster is this? Why is it so terrifyingly powerful?
Their faces turned deathly pale. Some even felt their legs grow weak, nearly collapsing to the earth.
Casting a contemptuous glance at the panicked transcendents, you snatched the chest containing the exotic fruits and vanished from the camp like a phantom amidst a hail of gunfire.
The dense barrage of bullets struck your body like raindrops hitting a boulder, unable to inflict even a shred of damage.
Meanwhile, within the mountain cavern.
Strange, why hasn't Father returned yet today? Liu Ruyan paced back and forth within the cave, her gaze constantly drifting toward the direction in which you had departed.
Could something have gone wrong?
Her heart tightened, as if gripped by an invisible hand. Impossible. With Father's strength, how could mere humans possibly stand against him?
The more she pondered, the more unsettled she became. After a moment of hesitation, she resolved to descend the mountain to investigate. At that very instant, a familiar silhouette appeared before her eyes.
You finally returned.
Liu Ruyan's eyes instantly brightened, and she wore a radiant smile.
Look at the treasures Father has brought back.
Your broad tiger paw opened a black chest forged from special materials, designed to preserve the freshness of the exotic fruits and prevent decay.
Liu Ruyan's mouth hung agape in sheer astonishment.
So many fruits, Father. Where did you get all these from? Naturally, I seized them from the hands of those humans outside. You grinned triumphantly.
Liu Ruyan's heart trembled. Did you wipe out the human's entire lair?
Something like that. You chuckled after a moment of thought.
At this moment, your heart was also brimming with excitement.
One must admit, the efficiency of humans in seeking treasures is truly formidable. You counted them a grand total of 45 mystic fruits. This was an immeasurable bounty of attribute points. Amidst their surging excitement, the two mighty tigers commenced the division of their spoils. Father, just one more for me, please. Liu Ruyan's adorable countenance was brimming with yearning, her fluffy tiger tail swaying gently behind her, much like a coaxing child. Very well, take this smaller one. Remember, these mystic fruits are no ordinary produce. Consume them according to your strength, and never devour too many at once. Now, depart for a while. Your father must commence his cultivation.
With those words, you unceremoniously cast Little White outside.
Beyond the stone dwelling, Liu Ruyan fumed, stamping her feet in indignation, her heart silently seething with complaints.
Naughty father, horrid father.
How utterly useless these humans are, to be so effortlessly eradicated. Father's power is already monstrous. If he were to absorb these spiritual fruits, would I ever have a chance to rise above him? At that very moment, within the confines of the stone dwelling. You, however, had already begun your fervent indulgence, unable to contain your impatience. Within your mind, the system's notifications chimed ceaselessly, akin to a jubilant symphony. Congratulations, host, you have acquired 1,000 attribute points. Ding ding, ding ding. Soon every last mystic fruit had been utterly devoured by you. And your accrued attribute points reached an unprecedented pinnacle. A grand total of 26,000 attribute points. With but a single thought, you immediately commenced the ascension of your power. The attribute points were consumed like a torrential river, and you could feel your very being undergoing wondrous and profound transformations. The very next instant, a terrifying aura erupted from within the stone dwelling, like a raging tempest, engulfing the entire chamber. Liu Ruyan, who had been secretly cultivating nearby, perceived this formidable aura, and instantly her eyes widened in profound astonishment. Her heart trembled with alarm, and a potent surge of resentment welled within her. Father has broken through once more, How am I ever to escape now?
Father's aura.
It has undeniably reached the late stage of the awakening realm. Liu Ruyan's heart was gripped by disbelief, her lively eyes filled with profound shock. In her memories, it had been barely 3 months since the spiritual energy resurgence began. In her previous life, it was only half a year after the spiritual energy resurgence that she first heard of someone breaking through to the late-stage awakening realm.
What kind of monstrous prodigy is father to have broken through to such a realm in so incredibly short a time?
Could my rebirth have somehow caused this world's timeline to diverge chaotically from its previous course? Beyond this conjecture, Liu Ruyan could conceive of no other explanation. With this realization, her gaze tremblingly shifted towards the direction of the stone dwelling.
Father seems to harbor deep animosity towards humanity. Why then did he dismantle the human stronghold outside this time?
If father were to discover that I possess a human soul, would he not mercilessly strike me down? Liu Ruyan's diminutive form began to tremble faintly, and her 2 snow-white ears drooped low. As this thought solidified, Liu Ruyan's small frame shuddered. She dared not gamble with her own life. She still harbored the ambition to prove the Tao and ascend to the rank of a great emperor, to exact her vengeance and settle all old grievances. She would not permit this one chance at rebirth to be extinguished so senselessly and without purpose. Then, indeed, she would truly die with eternal regret. Sensing your formidable aura, Liu Ruyan hesitated for a brief moment, yet her gaze gradually hardened with resolve. She bit her lip, as if steeling herself with a profound decision. There is no other recourse. I can only proceed thus. She spoke to herself in the silent chambers of her heart, a hint of fierce resolve glinting in her eyes. Within her heart, it was as if 2 ethereal figures ceaselessly contended, and one whispered, "Remain here. Your father cherishes you so deeply. He surely would not bring you harm." Yet the other ethereal figure countered, "You must not take this gamble. Once your true nature is unveiled, your fate shall be sealed. You must contemplate your future. Do not abandon your grand aspirations for the sake of fleeting affection." Liu Ruyan's heart was gripped by a tormenting struggle. She knew her actions might wound her father, yet she truly perceived no other path. She could not linger here forever, awaiting the inevitable moment of her discovery. Within the stone chamber, you remained blissfully unaware of the profound inner turmoil Liu Ruyan had endured. Sensing the terrifying power coursing through your veins, your soul surged with exuberant joy. This is transcendental bliss, far beyond any mundane gratification. Is this the sublime sensation of ascending to a higher state of being? Your heart was filled with profound shock and grand anticipation. You possessed an intuition that once you surpassed the 15th level, you would undoubtedly ascend into an entirely new realm of existence. At that moment, your prowess would undergo an augmentation of unprecedented magnitude. 16,000 attribute points remained. A mere 4,000 more were required for the next breakthrough. To acquire them, one must either persevere through daily disciplined training to receive the system's bestowal, or venture forth to seek them out. Yet neither of these paths to power was easily trodden. Thus, it was better to simply augment one's current strength. With a mere thought, you bestowed 3,000 evolution points upon the Vajra claws. As the Vajra claws reached the intermediate stage, the tiger's talons transmuted into divine metal, capable of sundering gold and shattering stone with a devastating, rending effect. You received the divine blessing of the Kai of metal. With a flicker of intent, you struck forth with great force, unleashing a blade of golden Kai. A sharp, piercing whistle echoed through the air. The might of the Vajra claws was now several times more formidable than before, carving a profound chasm into the earth. Witnessing this, a light of exhilarated surprise flickered within your gaze. I have now mastered a technique for long-range devastation. Relishing the newfound power of your ascension, you emerged from the stone chamber with a spirit of sublime tranquility. The radiance of the warm sun bathed your form, filling you with a sense of extraordinary comfort. You surveyed your surroundings, yet Liu Ruyan was nowhere to be seen. Frowning slightly, you called out, "Little White, where have you vanished to this time?" Your voice resounded through the mountain forests, echoing with a tone of deep affection. "Father is in high spirits today. What manner of delicacies do you desire to feast upon?" Liu Ruyan remained concealed within a nearby thicket, her heart a tempest of trepidation and unease. Upon hearing your summons, a wave of panic surged through her soul. She realized that hesitation was no longer an option. She must act with utmost haste. Stealing her resolve, she lifted the large basin of water she had prepared and made her way toward you.
Her steps were heavy, for every stride required a monumental effort of courage.
After a moment, Liu Ruyan arrived, bearing the large basin of water.
Her outward demeanor remained unchanged, her face adorned with a charming smile that made one yearn to hold her close.
Yet her heart trembled with hidden panic, and her gaze flickered with uncertainty.
"Father, you must be parched. Please drink some water." Indeed, a thirst had taken hold. You licked your lips, completely oblivious to Liu Ruyan's strange behavior. Previously, whenever you concluded your physical tempering, Liu Ruyan would always be waiting by your side with a basin of water.
Thus, you had long grown accustomed to this, and no suspicion entered your mind.
You took the water and drained it in a single draught. Watching you, a flicker of unease crossed her eyes as she whispered in her heart, "Please, do not hold this against me." As Liu Ruyan watched you drain the basin in a single draught, a shadow of guilt flickered in her eyes, and she murmured internally, "I am sorry, please do not blame me." Yet you remained blissfully unaware, speaking with a doting smile.
"Tell father what your heart desires to eat, and I shall prepare it for you."
Suppressing the complex emotions raging within, she feigned composure and tilted her small face upward. "Father, I am not hungry." Though her head was raised, her eyes dared not meet yours, as she slightly averted her gaze. Within her, a fierce struggle unfolded. On one hand, the reluctance to leave you, for your meticulous care had allowed her to feel a paternal love she had never known. On the other hand, she feared the discovery of the secret regarding her human soul. For the sake of her future, she felt compelled to depart. This inner conflict was like two invisible, giant hands tearing at her heart, inflicting an agony beyond measure. You seemed to sense Liu Ruyan's abnormality, and asked with concern,
"Little White, what is wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" "Father," Liu Ruyan's heart skipped a beat as she hastily raised her head.
She forced a trace of a smile. "Just the thought of humans being nearby makes me a little afraid." You smiled faintly. "Fear not. With father here, those humans wouldn't dare try anything. Even if that horde of humans were to invade, father will protect you." Having already reached level 15, you possessed absolute confidence in your strength. Those humans were simply no match for you. Your words stirred something deep within Liu Ruyan's heart. She wished to properly fulfill her filial duties to her father one last time before her departure. Lifting her small face, she put on the appearance of an adorable, precious child. "So amazing, with father here, you will definitely drive away those bad people." Speaking thus, she pulled you into the dwelling. "You must be exhausted from your training, right? Let me give you a massage." Chuckling, you followed your daughter into the stone cave, your heart overflowing with trust and doting affection for her. The faint anomaly you had previously sensed in Liu Ruyan vanished without a trace. Entering the stone cave, Liu Ruyan climbed onto your back and began to tread along your spine. Her little paws pressed down on your back in a rhythmic cadence, each step seemingly exhausting all her strength. "Father, is it comfortable?" Liu Ruyan asked softly, a barely imperceptible tremble hidden within her voice. "Very comfortable, a little more force on the left." You closed your eyes in deep contentment. At that moment, a sudden wave of drowsiness assailed you. You mused that Little White's massage was indeed so soothing that it made you yearn for slumber. Soon after, your body gradually relaxed, and your taut muscles loosened completely. Gradually, the sound of snoring arose, echoing throughout the tranquil stone cave. Liu Ruyan leapt down from your back, her heartbeat abruptly accelerating as if it would leap straight out of her throat. She approached you with the utmost caution, her gaze locked intently upon you. After waiting a moment and confirming there were no signs of you awakening, she breathed a profound sigh of relief. She silently spoke within her heart, "Please, you must not blame me." She had added her personally concocted soul, bewitching powder to the water earlier, a powder she had expended tremendous effort to refine. She knew of your formidable strength, and that ordinary drugs would likely have no effect on you. Yet this soul, bewitching powder was potent enough to make her father sleep for 2.5 hours. Even with your mighty strength, you would slumber for at least an hour. And this single hour would be more than enough time for her to escape the mountain range. Following that, Liu Ruyan withdrew the blood bead of legacy from her robes and placed it before you, the bead radiating a faint, mystical luminescence. She gazed at you, her eyes brimming with deep guilt and reluctance to part. "Father, I am leaving. Please forgive me for departing without saying goodbye," Liu Ruyan whispered, her voice heavy with sorrowful reluctance. Casting one last complex glance your way, she gritted her teeth, turned and strode straight out of the stone cave, not pausing for even a moment.
Arriving at the foot of the mountain, a great black bear was already waiting. Upon seeing Liu Ruyan, it let out a low, rumbling growl, as if greeting her.
Liu Ruyan bounded onto the great black bear's shoulder. She turned her head to look back toward your direction, a trace of reluctance flashing through her eyes.
The memories of the past few months living by your side flashed through her mind like a viewing scroll, each heartwarming scene manifesting one by one.
Your doting affection, the scenes of you two playing together, and the moments you stood as her protector, all caused her eyes to instantly moisten.
I will return. Once I have become truly powerful, I will definitely come back to see you. I only hope you will still acknowledge me as your daughter. She secretly clenched her tiny fists, her heart filled with an unyielding conviction. Thus, the silhouettes of one tiger and one bear gradually vanished into the depths of the mountain forest. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the Great Lai mountain range, a battle squad of Transcendents was actively searching for exotic fruits.
Everyone, be careful. Do not let your guard down. The Wind Spirit Envoy stood at the forefront of the formation, his white robes fluttering wildly in the gale.
What is there to fear? With you here, I am actually looking forward to encountering some demonic beasts, a young Transcendent in the squad remarked with utter nonchalance.
Arrogance, the Wind Spirit Envoy furrowed his brows and sharply reprimanded.
The strength of the winged one from the Kaingsheng group was no less than mine, yet even he perished at the claws of a demonic beast. It is evident that the Great Lai mountain range absolutely harbors many formidable demonic beasts. Just at that moment, a Transcendent shouted, "Boss, it looks like we have a situation." In the next second, the two metered. All thicket of grass ahead was violently cleaved apart as a great black bear came charging forth. Its colossal frame rampaged through the forest, each stomping footstep causing the very earth to tremble faintly. The crowd was collectively startled.
A demonic beast is approaching. Everyone, prepare for battle.
As the black bear drew near, only then did they realize that atop its head sat a white tiger.
What is going on? Why is there a little tiger too? A black bear paired with a white tiger was truly a bizarre sight.
Yet at this moment, none pondered the true nature of the events unfolding, as the Wind Spirit Master issued his command.
As his decree descended, the superhumans unleashed their formidable powers, a barrage of assaults hurtling towards the colossal black bear.
Colossal boulders shattered into fragments, shrapnel scattering wide, raising a cloud of dust.
How audacious, to dare lay hands upon this Empress! Liu Ruyan, still immersed in the poignant sorrow of parting with her father, was already in a foul mood. Witnessing these mere mortals dare launch a sneak attack, her rage erupted like a tempest. In the next instant, a radiant purple light manifested upon her form, and a formidable violet barrier shimmered into existence, enveloping both her and the great black bear.
When those attacks struck the barrier, they merely rippled across its surface, like pebbles cast into a tranquil lake, before vanishing without a trace.
Qingda, annihilate them, Liu Ruyan commanded with an icy voice, brimming with fury and imperial majesty, causing the very air around them to grow heavy and oppressive. Upon hearing the command, the great black bear let loose a thunderous roar and decisively unleashed its innate abilities. Its massive form began to swell rapidly, its already colossal physique growing even more enormous, akin to a towering hillock. Its bare paws, vast as two mighty cattail fans, whistled through the air as it lunged, striking directly at the nearest superhuman. The superhuman's eyes widened in terror, his pupils contracting sharply, his face etched with profound dread. He attempted to evade, but it was already too late.
With a resounding thud, he was crushed like a fragile fly, instantly obliterated by the great black bear's monstrous paw.
The Wind Spirit Master's gaze fell upon Liu Ruyan, perceiving the white tiger as the leader. Gritting his teeth, he resolved to intervene personally.
He was seen weaving his hands, muttering incantations, as the surrounding air began to surge and churn violently. Winds howled around him, gathering with increasing intensity, coalescing into a miniature cyclone. Thereafter, a dense swarm of wind blades hurtled forth, assailing Liu Ruyan. A tiger that does not roar, do you take it for a sickly cat? Liu Ruyan's gaze sharpened, and a vast torrent of spiritual power burst forth. The Wind Spirit Master's soul was struck, plunging him into a dazed stupor for 2.5 seconds. Immediately thereafter, Liu Ruyan unleashed her innate abilities, her form transforming into 2 streaks of brilliant white light, surging towards the Wind Spirit Master with breathtaking speed. Her ethereal figures weaved through the forest, leaving behind only 2 fleeting white afterimages, like shooting stars streaking across the night sky. The Wind Spirit Master was profoundly shocked, witnessing Liu Ruyan's unparalleled speed. He attempted to evade, but time had already run out. In an instant, Liu Ruyan materialized before him, unleashing a mighty claw strike. Her talons rent through the air, leaving a shimmering white trail in their wake. This single claw strike tore through his defenses, accompanied by a chilling snap. The tiger's claw struck his chest, causing it to instantly cave inward. The Wind Spirit Master's eyes widened in horror. A torrent of fresh blood erupted from his mouth. His body was flung away like a kite with a broken string, crashing heavily to the earth and raising a cloud of dust. He twitched several times upon the ground, then ceased all movement.
Dead?
What? The leader is slain. How can this be? The remaining superhumans, witnessing the demise of the Wind Spirit Master, were engulfed by profound terror. None harbored thoughts of vengeance. Their sole desire was to preserve their lives. Xingda, this way. Liu Ruyan wasted no time pursuing the fleeing superhumans. Her true objective lay with Changbai Mountain. Concurrently, within the stone cavern, you slowly opened your eyes. This slumber was truly blissful. You felt your body surge with boundless power, as if all previous exhaustion had been utterly swept away. Xiaobai, come with father, we shall hunt. You deemed it essential for Xiaobai to experience the thrill of battling and slaying exotic beasts. Xiaob, I could not remain a mere hothouse flower forever should you one day be absent from her side. She might be unable to survive.
Yet?
You called out several times, but no response came. Whither had the little one wandered this time? A grim premonition suddenly seized you. Could Xiaob, I have departed. You summoned Changui. Through the spectral feedback from the ghost, you learned that Xiaob, I had indeed departed, and had already ventured beyond this mountain range. She truly departed. You stood stunned for a moment. Ultimately, a sigh escaped your lips. In the end, was she truly beyond my grasp? A hint of loss flickered in your gaze, and a complex torrent of emotions surged within your heart. Both an reluctance at Liu Ruyan's departure and a profound concern for her future weighed upon you. At this very moment, a peculiar sensation stirred within you, and you perceived the blood pearl of inheritance that Liu Ruyan had left behind. The blood pearl pulsed with a faint, ethereal luminescence. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, you extended your soul force, allowing it to subtly infiltrate the blood pearl. Suddenly, as if provoked by an unseen catalyst, the blood pearl violently shattered, transforming into a swirling mist of crimson energy that surged into your very being. Within your mind, a profound and arcane surge of information awakened. You closed your eyes, dedicating your entire focus to receiving and comprehending these newfound insights. The Purple Sun Respiration Method. To think such an exquisite cultivation method could exist in this world. Moments later, having assimilated the influx of knowledge, an unparalleled shock reverberated through your heart. Subsequently, your brow furrowed ever so slightly, and a hint of resignation crept into your gaze. Such a profound cultivation method, Xiaobai truly is the reincarnation of an ancient demonic god. But to think a single cultivation method could sever the bond of father and daughter, a fanciful notion indeed. You enjoy departing without a word, do you, Xiaobai? Just you wait one day. Your father shall reclaim you and impart a stern lesson. At this juncture, you dedicated your entire being to the profound study of the Purple Sun Respiration Method. From the insights imparted by Xiaobai, it appeared the Purple Sun Respiration Method stood as a paramount cultivation method within this realm. Concurrently, within the Blood Pearl of Inheritance, Liu Ruyan had also enlightened you upon the cultivation realms and cultivation method tiers of this world. Cultivation levels, progressing from the lowest to the highest, were delineated as Awakening Realm, Shackle Realm, King Realm, Imperial Tao Realm, and Great Emperor Realm. The tiers of cultivation methods were categorized as Mortal, Spirit, King, Imperial, and Emperor. The Purple Sun Respiration Method, in itself, was an Emperor tier cultivation method. Comprising 9 profound layers, cultivating it to its ultimate zenith could lead one to attain the status of a Great Emperor. Your heart was utterly overwhelmed with awe, for you had never conceived that the Purple Sun Respiration Method possessed such formidable power. My current cultivation realm must be at the peak of the Awakening Realm. Beyond this lies the Shackle Realm. Level 15, it seemed, corresponded to the Shackle Realm. Upon grasping the immense value of the Purple Sun Respiration Method, a measure of solace settled within your heart. It seems my affection for I was not entirely in vain. However, do not presume that a mere cultivation method can sever the ties of father and daughter. Having called me father for so long, that bond endures for all eternity. Thereupon, you embarked upon the endeavor of cultivating the Purple Sun Respiration Method. Closing your eyes, you focused your entire being, sensing the ambient spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Time, at this moment, seemed to stand still, and the entirety of the world descended into profound silence. An indeterminate span of time passed, and then a mysterious violet luminescence emanated from your entire form, much like when Liu Ruyan had undergone her cultivation. Enveloped within this violet radiance, you appeared utterly enigmatic. Of the world beyond, you remained utterly oblivious. You knew only that, in this moment, you seemed to have ascended into a realm entirely new. All that encompassed you became crystal clear. This sensation differed from the abilities akin to a wind. Hearing ear one was a mere reception of feedback, whilst the other felt like a direct communion from within the soul. After a prolonged period, your eyes slowly parted. Within your obsidian pupils, a profound light shimmered. Truly worthy of an emperor-tier cultivation method, aided by such a technique, few demonic beasts or transcendent beings in this world could ever hope to surpass it. No wonder, Ziob, I harbored such a desire for spirit fruits with such a cultivation method at hand. Consuming any amount would pose no ill effect. Concurrently, at the periphery of the Grand Separation, mountain range, having endured the dual onslaught from both yourself and Liu Ruyan, the two formidable conglomerates were now in the slow process of withdrawal. Their countenances were etched with both resignation and profound disappointment. This campaign had culminated in utter failure, not only inflicting colossal losses upon them, but also directly impressing upon them the vast disparity between human transcendent cultivators and demonic beasts. However, no wall could conceal the truth, forever news of the two conglomerates' defeat swiftly spread, instantly igniting a tempestuous uproar within Lishi City. Across the boundless networks, discussions raged furiously, as all sought to uncover what manner of demonic beast could have slain such mighty experts as the Winged Ones and Wind Spirits. The masses clamored, fervently demanding an explanation from the two colossal powers. At long last, enduring immense pressure, the two colossal powers were compelled to unveil the unvarnished truth. No sooner had the revelation and the accompanying video emerged than the very fabric of the digital realm erupted in pandemonium. By the heavens, the Winged Wind Spirit Wielder was instantly slain. That was a mighty expert, ranked among humanity's top 100, and a top 10 paragon of the Dragon Kingdom, to be instantly vanquished in single combat by a lone black tiger and a white tiger. Just what arcane beings lie hidden within the Grand Departure mountain range? Who amongst us shall dare to venture there henceforth? The exalted echelons of the two colossal powers immediately convened an urgent council to deliberate upon countermeasures. All present have witnessed the video. The emergence of the Black and White Tiger Kings transcends the very bounds of our comprehension. Furthermore, this transpired merely in the outer reaches, should we speak of the depths. The words remained unspoken, trailing into ominous silence. A somber pall descended upon the countenances of all gathered. We must bolster our vigilance over the Grand Departure mountain range to avert the recurrence of such cataclysmic events. Concurrently, we shall seek succor from powers in other domains to collectively confront this burgeoning menace. They understood, with chilling clarity, that the advent of the Black and White Tiger Kings had shattered the established equilibrium. Humanity was thus compelled to act, lest their very existence and prosperity be imperiled. Meanwhile, within the desolate cavern, suddenly your eyes snapped open, twin orbs of obsidian within which pulses of violet radiance shimmered. Those violet emanations, like twin bolts of celestial lightning, instantly illuminated the entirety of the cavern. Perceiving the nascent power surging within your very essence, a profound elation swelled within your spirit. To your astonishment, with such swiftness, you had successfully ascended to the first layer of the violet sun-breathing method. Yet, you pondered if this unprecedented speed of success was intertwined with your pinnacle cultivation at the awakening realm. Dispelling further rumination, you forthwith summoned your attribute panel. Your level remained at 14, yet a new page, dedicated to cultivation methods, had manifested. Cultivation method, violet sun-breathing method, first layer. Next advancement requires 5 zeros, 0 attribute points. Current attribute points 12, 0, 0. Upon beholding this, your eyes ignited with fervent light. The violet sun-breathing method could, astonishingly, be elevated through the expenditure of attribute points. This was an imperial, tier cultivation method, whose ultimate mastery promised the very Tao of an emperor. As long as an abundance of attribute points remained at your disposal, you could continuously elevate the realm of the violet sun-breathing method, making the throne of the great emperor within your grasp. With a mere thought, a shimmering violet light shield emanated from your entire form.
The violet sun-breathing method comprised 9 distinct layers, each imbued with formidable abilities. The ability of the first layer was named Violet Radiance Bodyguard, manifesting as a radiant violet shield encircling your being. This violet light shield exuded an immense defensive power, appearing capable of repelling even the most colossal external assaults. Gazing upon this radiant shield, your heart swelled with unshakable confidence. Truly splendid, no wonder that young lass, Little White, dared to venture forth. With such formidable defenses, concern for immediate safety could be cast aside. As time flowed like a river, 2.5 days swiftly elapsed. At this juncture, Liu Ruyan and the Great Black Bear traversed the verdant mountain forests. She knew with unwavering certainty that upon reaching Changbai Mountain, she would grasp the opportunity to ascend to greater power. Moreover, along this arduous journey, the closer they drew to Changbai Mountain, the more formidable the anomalous beasts they encountered became. They even chanced upon a colossal pack of wolves. The sheer, terrifying multitude of the pack compelled Liu Ruyan to choose a circuitous path. Nevertheless, they were discovered by the wolf pack, who relentlessly pursued them for an entire day and night. Yet, fate favors the persistent, and at last they arrived at the foothills of Changbai Mountain. Beholding the majestic Changbai Mountain, its peaks soaring into the distant clouds, a profound joy bloomed within Liu Ruyan's heart. Changbai Mountain, this emperor has finally arrived. This shall be the very genesis of this emperor's path to enlightenment in this life. I hereby declare, from this day forward, this domain belongs solely to this emperor. Unwavering resolve shone brightly within her gaze. The Great Black Bear, sensing Liu Ruyan's fervor, let loose a deep, resonant roar. That primal roar echoed through the valleys, lingering long before fading into silence. Elsewhere, as you ventured forth, as was your custom, in search of exotic fruits, you discerned a common eagle continuously trailing you from the skies above. If your memory served, you had observed this avian sentinel several times over the past few days. A perplexing question arose within your mind. All creatures had undergone metamorphosis. Yet why did this eagle remain so diminutive? Concurrently at the Potentia conglomerate, a nervous executive inquired of Elder Yong, "Surely the Black Tiger King hasn't uncovered anything, has he?" Upon the colossal display screen within the Potentia conglomerate's conference chamber, real-time transmitted images played. Within the video, a titanic black tiger garnered exceptional attention. It was none other than yourself. No sooner had the words faded than Elder Yong, with an air of supreme confidence, shook his head. It is highly improbable. While these beasts have experienced a surge in intellect following their metamorphosis, they remain vastly inferior to mankind in sagacity. This eagle is but a marvel of biomimetic technology, personally engineered by this elder. How could a mere brute beast possibly discern its true nature? Gazing at your image upon the screen, Elder Yong's heart swelled with triumphant pride. From the morrow, begin to disseminate tidings of the Black Tiger King to the world beyond. The executive inquired with trepidation, "Is this not far too perilous?" Given the Black Tiger King's formidable might, should it discover our surveillance, would it not seek dire retribution against us? Elder Yong's gaze darkened. You surely have no desire to witness those pathetic keyboard warriors upon the network ceaselessly reviling us for our perceived incompetence, do you? As these words were uttered, a heavy silence descended upon the entire assembly hall. Within the depths of the forest, you gazed at the eagle soaring above. A ripple of surprise in your heart, it remained unscathed. You had just commanded the giant condor, Changhan, to launch a soul-rending strike, yet this insignificant eagle was not affected in the slightest. In terms of soul power alone, the giant condor Changhan was already capable of shaking even those demonic beasts of the awakening realm. Yet this eagle was clearly not an awakening realm demonic beast. This could only lead to one conclusion: the creature possessed no soul. Possibilities flashed rapidly through your mind until you were certain. This was but a drone, a mechanical vessel crafted by humans to mimic an eagle's form. The thought of humanity instantly ignited a surge of cold fury within your heart. These humans are truly unscrupulous, resorting to such underhanded schemes to spy upon you. It seems they still refuse to abandon their designs. However, after a moment's deliberation, you resolved to beat them at their own game. To their eyes, you were currently but a tiger of meager intellect. You chose to maintain your guise as an ordinary demonic beast, lulling the humans into a state of false security. Yet, you grew more vigilant henceforth. You would never reveal your true strength or hidden trump cards under the prying eyes of humanity. As the kindly group broadcasted the Black Tiger King daily, its notoriety swelled, leaving the entirety of Lishan City embroiled in fervent discussion. The idle chatter of the populace never strayed far from the undisputed overlord of the great Lishan mountain range.
There were even those who specifically edited footage of your battles into scrolls of video to be shared across the web. In an instant, 9 out of every 10 headlines were dedicated to discussing the Black Tiger King. The Black Tiger King actually bathes himself. His wisdom is truly supreme. Astounding, why are the Black Tiger King's movements so peculiar could he be grooming himself? In every street and alley, people excitedly debated the Black Tiger King's power, for he had already become a legendary symbol of Lishan City. Simultaneously, within a peach grove on the eastern slopes of the Changbai Mountains, a white tiger lay serenely upon a massive stone. Her form radiating a mysterious violet light, she was none other than Liu Ruyan. Several demonic beasts entered the grove with trepidation, their eyes brimming with reverence and dread, their steps slow and cautious. These beasts bore various spirit fruits upon them. Seeing Liu Ruyan immersed in cultivation, they did not dare utter a single sound. With utmost deference, they placed the spirit fruits before her and lowered their heads, not daring to meet her gaze. Sensing the approach of the beasts, Liu Ruyan slowly opened her eyes. At the sight of the offerings, she gave a nod of approval. Excellent, with an abundance of spirit fruits, the progress of her purple yang breathing technique had accelerated tremendously. She had already reached the late stages of the awakening realm. Just then, Liu Ruyan's gaze fell upon the great black bear. "Xingda, you are wounded. Who has dared to strike you?" Fury instantly took hold of Liu Ruyan, her eyes flashing with a murderous light. To dare mistreat her subordinate, did they harbor a death wish? Her aura erupted in a sudden burst, causing the very air to turn stagnant and cold. Since her arrival at the Changbai Mountains, Liu Ruyan had recruited many new followers, yet the most dependable remained Xingda. Xingda jerked his head up and pointed toward the east, his eyes overflowing with grievance and resentment. It was that great ape from the east. Understanding dawned upon Liu Ruyan as a chilling glint passed through her eyes. It seems it did not take my previous warning to heart. To think it dared lay hands upon you. Today, I shall personally flay its hide. Heed my command, summon all demonic beasts. We shall hunt it down and slay it. Xingda nodded frantically like a pecking bird, his heart surging with excitement. In a short span, he had rallied every subordinate Liu Ruyan had gathered during her tenure there. Liu Ruyan stood at the vanguard and issued a single decree: everyone, follow me, we go to raise their territory. Meanwhile, within a valley of the Changbai Mountains, a woman was roasting meat for a colossal ape. The woman was originally an awakened from Zhanghai City who had ventured into the Changbai Mountains to seek spirit fruits, only to fall into the clutches of the Ape King. Because she possessed fire-based abilities, she was spared solely to roast meat. Her comrades had long since perished. Just as the Ape King was feasting, a tiger's roar suddenly echoed, a sound steeped in provocation. A shadow of wariness flitted through the Ape King's eyes. It recognized the voice of the White Tiger King. Soon after, the Ape King was consumed by rage, feeling its sovereign dignity had been challenged. It rose to its full height, letting out a thunderous roar as it led a troop of apes toward the valley entrance. Outside the valley, Liu Ruyan led her subordinates with overwhelming arrogance. Perched upon a great boulder, her gaze was filled with absolute confidence and peerless authority, as if the whole of creation was hers to command. When Liu Ruyan beheld the Ape King leading his troop, she wasted no words and issued the command immediately. Earth-shattering roars erupted as the spirit beasts behind Liu Ruyan surged toward the Ape King like a tidal wave. With thunderous booms that shook the earth and mountains, Liu Ruyan personally engaged the Ape King in a grand battle. Enraged, the Ape King, who had clashed with her before, unleashed his bloodline talent. His form ballooned instantly, standing in the valley like a colossal giant. The Ape King swung a massive fist toward Liu Ruyan, the blow stirring a gale so fierce it made breathing a struggle. Seeking death, Liu Ruyan remained utterly undaunted. A violet light enshrouded her, forming a resolute defensive barrier. The shimmering purple glow pulsed with a mystical power that none dared look upon directly. When the Ape King's fist struck the violet aura protection, a thunderous boom resounded, as if two great peaks had collided. Yet the violet aura protection remained unshaken, effortlessly nullifying the Ape King's assault. Seizing the opening, Liu Ruyan launched a counteroffensive, breathing forth a beam of searing, high-temperature light, the violet sun piercing the heavens. The violet pillar of light surged toward the Ape King like a divine dragon, the air itself distorting in its wake. The Ape King scrambled to evade, yet the beam struck his shoulder a moment later. He let out a harrowing roar of agony.
Granting him no respite, Liu Ruyan unleashed a relentless barrage, pillar after pillar of violet light hurtling toward the Ape King. The Ape King dodged frantically, but could not escape her onslaught. His body was riddled with wounds, and blood flowed incessantly. Looking upon his mangled body, despair surged within the Ape King's heart. He knew that to continue would lead only to a path of certain death. His once furious gaze gradually filled with terror and helplessness, and his massive frame began to tremble uncontrollably. The Ape King slowly lowered his raised fists, then his knees buckled, and he collapsed to the ground with a heavy thud. He bowed his head, not daring to meet Liu Ruyan's gaze, emitting low whimpers as if pleading for mercy. His voice was saturated with fear and humility, stripped entirely of his former arrogance. Seeing their king surrender, the surrounding apes bowed their heads, not daring to utter a single sound. They knew their fates now rested entirely in the hands of Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan snorted coldly, "Since you beg for mercy, I shall spare your life." As she spoke, she placed her tiger paw upon the Ape King's brow, imprinting a soul covenant. Once the battle concluded, Liu Ruyan surveyed her surroundings, her gaze suddenly drawn to a movement within the valley. Narrowing her eyes, her keen perception detected an unusual aura. With a hint of curiosity, she walked slowly toward that direction. As she drew near, the figure of a human gradually became clear. It was a woman, huddled behind a rock, her body shivering slightly. Her face was etched with terror, and though she appeared disheveled, her former beauty remained evident. Observing her closely, Liu Ruyan realized the woman was an awakened with fire elemental powers, and her heart stirred. Having been away for half a month, she dearly missed the roasted meat her father used to prepare. The spirit beasts she had subjugated could barely conjure a spark, let alone roast meat. As Liu Ruyan approached, the woman recoiled in terror. Seeing the woman's fright, Liu Ruyan frowned slightly. Unable to communicate directly with humans yet, she simply utilized a soul covenant to take command over the flame woman's life and death. "From this day forth, you shall roast meat for this sovereign." The flame woman was left speechless. Her miserable life had merely traded one master for another, still destined to roast meat. Meanwhile, in the top-floor conference room of the Beishan Group in Zhonghai City, executives sat around a massive table, their faces clouded with anxiety and unease. "We have completely lost contact with the Flame Woman," one executive remarked, his brow furrowed with shock and concern. The Flame Woman had previously maintained contact with the Beishan Group, providing a steady stream of information regarding the spirit beasts of Changbai Mountain. Losing her now is no different from being blinded and deafened. What are we to do? She held critical intelligence on the beasts of Changbai Mountain. Her disappearance will severely impact our designs. Another executive was drenched in sweat since the loss of contact. He had been unable to eat or sleep. "We must find a way to locate her in the shortest time possible or re-establish a channel into Changbai Mountain." A white-haired elder spoke with a profound gaze. "If this continues, we will be forced into a passive state." The lead executive's expression soured. "However, no awakened is willing to enter Changbai Mountain now. Even if there were, their price is outrageously high." Silence fell over the room. All knew the consequences of losing their source of information. At that moment, a senior leader broke the silence. "It is not entirely without good news. We have confirmed the existence of that white tiger in Changbai Mountain. This is a monumental discovery." Another young executive echoed the proposal, stating, "The Kainsheng Group's live broadcast of the Black Tiger King achieved monumental success. We should emulate them and conduct a live broadcast of the White Tiger King of the Changbai Mountains. It might just bring even greater prestige to our conglomerate." Ultimately, the entire assembly agreed, passing the motion with a unanimous vote. At this moment, within the peach blossom grove of the Changbai Mountains, Liu Ruyan was radiating a brilliant purple light. She sat quietly atop a massive boulder, cultivating the purple sun-breathing method. The flame maiden, Lin Yu, was focused intently on roasting meat. Lin Yu's face was filled with reverence and unwavering focus. She knew her sole task was to roast the meat to delicious perfection for Liu Ruyan. Ever since being subdued, she had become absolutely loyal to Liu Ruyan, even capable of communicating with her through their souls. Catching the savory aroma, Liu Ruyan's appetite was instantly stirred. She slowly opened her eyes, a flash of purple light vanishing in the depths of her gaze. Looking at the roasted meat in Lin Yu's hands, a look of eager anticipation surfaced on her face. Lin Yu hastily presented the perfectly roasted meat to Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan accepted the meat and began to eat heartily. Although it is still a bit lacking compared to father's roasting, it is barely passable.
She suddenly missed you, a warm surge of emotion welling up within her heart.
If only father could communicate with me from afar.
At that moment, a sudden thought struck her.
She turned her gaze to Lin Yu and asked, "Do you have a communication device on you?"
Lin Yu nodded and retrieved a wireless mobile phone from her person. Then take a look at what is happening in the outside world right now.
Liu Ruyan's heart leaped with great joy.
Lin Yu skillfully powered on the communication device, and the screen instantly flooded with various news reports and information.
Liu Ruyan's gaze was fixed intently upon the screen.
Suddenly, she saw that the Black Tiger King of Lishan City was dominating the trending searches. The Black Tiger King, Liu Ruyan's eyes lit up, her heart brimming with astonishment. She carefully examined the information and images regarding the Black Tiger King on the screen, a proud smile gracing her face.
So father has already become this famous.
Seeing this, Liu Ruyan instantly became exhilarated.
Lin Yu quickly searched for more information regarding the Black Tiger King. The more detailed, the better.
Not daring to delay, Lin Yu hastily operated the communication device, rapidly searching for any information concerning the Black Tiger King.
Liu Ruyan stared unblinkingly at the screen of the device, terrified of missing even a single image of her father. Report after report, image after image swept before her eyes, all of them declaring your